human perspective.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Sharing the love, spreading the light in real time. Friday night love stream.
Very happy to have a guy we instantly resonated with. Unbiased and on the fence. I'm talking about Shane C. Robinson. And his purpose is to rise above the worldviews that are designed to separate us so we can unite as one.
Sometimes you have to sort of take a step back, and I think Unbiased and on the Fence is a really, really good title for your show, because you are in the central point when you're unbiased and on the fence. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you're indecisive. It means you are taking the central point and you're seeing the multiple perspectives.
Unbiased and on the fence.
If you haven't checked Unbiased on the Fence, go and check his channel out. You might like it.
From Unbiased on the Fence, Shane.
If this much sincerity enters your life, come to this much. What I know, I know. What I do not know, I do not know. I don't believe anything, I don't disbelieve anything. I'm willing to look at everything. You will become a sensible human being.
Have you checked out our website?
Visit us on the web at uotf.net. You're listening to The Love Stream.
All around the world in real time.
I want to thank you for watching, listening, liking, subscribing, and for those who support this channel financially. Thank you, lots of love and light to everyone out there.
Your calls, your stories, on air. You're listening to The Love Stream.
Sharing the love and spreading the light all around the world. This is Unbiased and on the Fence.
Unbiased and on the Fence.
And how is everybody doing tonight? It is a beautiful night. Thank you guys for coming out and joining with everyone. Special times. I was going to be running a little later, and I thought, you know what, I'll just give some people time to hop in on the phone lines. They are wide open. Let me put the numbers up there for international calls. Let me see here. Here we go. This will be calls from all around the world. And while we wait, I'm going to play some WingMakers material, set the mood. Love this stuff.
What do?
All right. Phone lines are open. You're listening to the activating music of the WingMakers. I'm just kidding. Phone lines are open. This music is available on YouTube. Just look up WingMakers. I dropped the link in the chat box. It goes along with the WingMakers Find, where they found those capsules, and you know, with the activating artwork and music and all that. I covered it a while back. But it's, I thought it's kind of cool. It's got like a Native American sound to it and a modern dance sound. I don't know. Really relaxing. So anyway, check it out. If you'd like to get on the call tonight, please do call in. Phone lines are open.
Let's go.
You're listening to The Love Stream.
Unbiased and on the fence.
What is up, you guys? We want to go back to the phone lines, or to the phone lines for the first time. And we have, unmute you there. 3, 2, 1, go. You almost said Florida. Ronnie in Virginia.
Yeah.
So how are you settling in there? Are you digging it, or is it? It's been kind of cold, huh?
Well, I love the cold though. So I was really looking forward to it, and got out my coat and my gloves and my scarf, and I love it. So you'll hear it. I'm crackling. I'm sitting outside, actually.
Oh,
it's
really?
Probably, to people who live in the north, it's probably not really cold to them. It's 41 degrees, but to me, that's cold.
Yeah.
And when we get down into the 20s, that's like, okay, I'll just run out for a quick cigarette and then I'm done.
Yeah, it feels like it's burning your face off.
Yeah. It's, I don't even mind it that cold if it's not windy. It's just when it's windy, it's like brutal. It just goes through anything you're wearing. So.
Oh, yeah.
But I love it. Yeah, I actually got to walk out. I've been trying to build up my hill muscles because I'm from flatland, and so I got out and was walking on some of the back acreage where I haven't been, and it was just amazing. It was just like, oh, this is so cool. I just sat down on a rock and listened to the waterfall, and
that's awesome.
Just loving it. Yeah, and I love the area. The people are really, really cool. My husband's like, everybody is just so slow. I was like, no, they're just so natural and peaceful and relaxed. It's not like crazy land.
Oh, you felt like they were kind of slow, like not in a hurry.
Yeah. People are, for the most part, they're just really mellow. You go into the store or the bank, and they're not like rushed where they can't take a minute and say hello to people or whatever. So
wow.
It's a different feeling than it was in Florida, for sure.
Yeah, there's towns like that here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Where you can't drive down the street without, they'll wave at you and stuff like they know you and stuff. It's cool. It's cool though, But.
Yeah, it's kind of old school, That's how it was when I was growing up in Florida, but it changed. I went in the Navy and I came back and everything was like growing, and so that small town feeling went away.
Yeah.
And it became, people, you go to the store and people are like smashing you with their cart and then yelling at you for being in their way.
Right.
What?
Especially if it's at Christmas time, my goodness. That seems to bring out the worst in everyone.
Oh, isn't it funny? Yeah.
Wow.
I want to have a good Christmas and you ruined it.
Right.
So I'm going to yell at you.
Yeah, I went out one year. We went out real early on Black Friday morning and almost got like backed over by some cars. I'm like, dude, this isn't, I don't want to be out in this,
Yeah, I don't even shop anymore. I don't go to the store around that time at all. I just can't take all the, I don't know if it's empath thing or just other normal people can't handle it either, but I just cannot handle the
it's those door busters, I think.
I feel crushed. just the sense of all the people around, it makes me feel very like I want to crawl into a shell or under a table. You know how the kids always hide in the middle of the clothing rack?
Yep.
That's what I want to do. I just want to climb in there and sit down until the store empties out.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. Yeah.
And, well, I did have a really interesting event yesterday. I actually have a guest coming Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I was out doing some shopping and had to get some things at the hardware store. So I have all my stuff in my cart, and I was heading to the checkout, and there were, I didn't know the layout of the store, so I'm kind of looking around. There were people in front of me, and there were people coming towards us all. So I was like, well, I'll just stay behind these people and not try and rush. I'm not in any hurry. I'm just going to hang out back here and chill. So, and that was it was a conscious decision to not act like I had to, like I was in a big rush. And so I just calmed down and, backed off and was walking behind these people. Well,
that sounds so peaceful.
It was, until the man turns around and starts yelling at me, well, why don't you just go around me? You should have just passed me. I don't know why you're trying to run me over with your cart. And I was like, what? What the hell is going on, man? I don't know what you're talking about. It was so crazy. I mean, it was so out of the blue and so, like, completely wrong. I was like, I wasn't doing anything. I had already made myself just let go of any feeling of pressure. I just did it. And so I was just floored. And I was like, well, I couldn't go around you because there were people over there, and this is the side where Americans go. We're in the United States, not England. Right. Well, the lady turns around, and she's like, well, you're calling us un-American? And that wasn't what I meant at all. I was like, and she's like, well, I'm an American. I don't know what you are. You don't even look like an American. What kind of foreigner are you? And I was like, I didn't even know what to say. I just stood there with my mouth hanging open, and I was thinking, well, what does she think I look like? I mean, my family is Eastern European, but I'm white girl, and dye my hair brown, so I'm not like purple haired or nothing unusual here. I'm typical. And I was like, what does an American look like anyway?
Yeah.
So
yeah, really.
how can you say that? What did she think I look like? So I was just stunned, and I didn't know what to say, which for me is good, because if I open my mouth, I'll usually say something bad and feel bad about it later. Yeah. So I went. The cashier had actually seen this whole thing, and she's like, what was that about? What happened? And I was like, I don't know. So, as I was talking about it with her, though, I noticed that I was getting nasty. And I was like, oh, no, I can't even do that. I'm not doing that. I'm making a choice again that I'm just going to send blessings to that person. Just bless him. And thank you, Eileen. I saw you were in the chat before. Thank you, because you pointed out that when these things happen, it's on us. So yeah. It was on me to turn that around and not let it stick with me. And so I was on YouTube this morning, and I guess it's a tarot card reader that I like, and she said, one of the first card that she got for the week, it's actually the upcoming week, but my week always seems to start early. Whatever they say, I'm already doing it before they say it. So she's like, oh, she was saying it's going to be a peaceful week, and then the first card that she drew was conflict. I was like, yes, that's it. But then the second card she drew was the Hangman. It was like, yes, it's conflict, but you have to change your perspective. So that's my message for everybody this week is, yes, this weird kind of energy is out there, and you have to start making choices, because it's going to come and hit you when you least expect it. Yeah. So just, before, don't make the mistake that I made. Don't try and talk to people, because they're in their own world. They're in their own reality. They don't want your perspective, and they won't accept it. So, when somebody tells you, why are you trying to run me over with your cart, just say, I love you, and walk away. So
they're the secret shoppers, Ronnie. The secret shoppers of the planet. They're
I think so.
to test you. Bring you out of your little bubble for a minute. Just when you're feeling happy, like, oh no, don't feel too blissful. Here's a little challenge for you today. Yeah, here you are, not trying to rush.
Absolutely.
And that's why it just seems like that to me.
Yeah, it really did. That's so funny you said that. It just actually felt like, okay, it almost here's your test.
Yeah, it almost didn't make sense,
Yeah. It totally didn't make sense. It was crazy. So, yeah, that's my message for everybody this week is the conflict is out there. It's going to sneak up on you, but just take a different perspective immediately. Be expecting it. It's going to happen. So, yeah.
Eileen's saying she got triggered today too.
Oh
For her, that
no!
was today.
I want her to call in and tell her story.
Yeah, you should, Eileen. This would be our triggered episode or something. Because it happens, you know, you can't avoid it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I actually, I felt like I did pretty good. The thing that got me was that it threw me into self-defense.
Yeah.
You know, that, hey, I didn't do that to you. I don't know what you're talking about. So I felt like I had been wrongly accused, and I had to defend myself. And that's a big thing for me, is I can't stand being falsely accused of something.
Yeah.
So it really was a very specific trigger for me. So, yeah, it's all these like the little things that are left that you haven't gotten worked out of your baggage yet.
Yeah.
This is it. It's like the last push. So I really feel like, I don't know.
That's such an optimistic way of looking at it, too. You know, I think it's an optimistic way of looking about it, too. Like, that it was just a little test to show you what you need to work on. And, like, you know, so we don't get too comfortable.
Yeah.
So it can totally be a positive thing, I think. If we're triggered, especially, because then it's showing you right there, you're like, well, why did you let someone else trigger you, you know? Were you not in control for a minute or something, you know?
Well, isn't that true? I mean, you know, when you think about it, I think about, you know, if we actually have this power of mutating energy and, you know, controlling our environment through our thoughts, how are we supposed to control our thoughts? You know, the things that flit through my mind are just horrendous sometimes. I horrify myself even. It's like, oh my God, did I really just think that? I don't think that. Why would I think that? So, you know, to get all of that under control, I think that this past year for me, was just really an amazing series of, you know, just little traumas, you know, and big traumas, to go in and dig that stuff out. And I don't think I've ever in my life been where I've existed in the moment, where I'm not like just planning something. What's the next step I'm going to take? Because I'm a planner. I love planning. I like the planning better than the doing, actually. So for me to live in the moment is really, really hard. And so this, you know, to be there when you're in the moment and you're not projecting away already, then you're just accepting everything that's happening around you. And then when you do have an intention that you put out, it's clean. It's not attached to hopes and, you know, wishful thinking and fear of what might happen or what might not happen. It's, you know, you're here and you just feel like, now I can ask for this. I can set my intention to be this. So I think that that's what we're having to learn, is how to be very clean in our thoughts. And I don't mean purity kind of clean. I mean not dragging garbage. You know, I'm not going to wish something bad on this person. You know, oh, I hope you get a flat tire because you cut me off. I don't ever do anything with it. But, you know, if you can just say, okay, you know, this person cut me off. They're in a hurry. And I can help by not being aggressive toward them, by making sure that they're safe in the space that they insisted on having in front of me, you know?
Right.
Then the moment is still clean and clear. And your intention is clean and clear and nothing negative. So
yeah, it's hard to let go sometimes, though. Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm right with you. Yeah, I just think how hard it is to let go sometimes. Even when you feel like you let go, you're like, I'm still kind of ticked off they cut me off. You know what I mean? It's just hard to let go.
Yeah,
even when you do the right thing.
That happened to me too. Yesterday, somebody just pass me, and it's like, you know, he could have gotten in behind me, but he had to pass me. And it's like, why did you have to pass me? Well, I don't know. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
You're in front of me. Good.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It is easier just to stay the heck away from people because, you know, the second you know, as far as being easy sometimes, it's just interactions can just get tricky, dicey, you know.
Yes. So, what was your trigger moment, since we're going to talk about triggering?
I'd say traffic, just probably traffic more than any other time. And it's just usually people just, like stuff you're talking about, people cutting you off or almost running you off the road. And you're like, what the heck? People are just so crazy out here. I was just really thankful, though. It a lot of times I'm like thanking them, you know, just that I made it through. 'Cause sometimes it's like, man, they almost hit me. They could have totally just nailed into the side of me. So, and it went both ways. I accidentally cut someone else off. I think this was when we were in Austin, and I took a wrong turn. I didn't see this guy, and I was going to go straight, and he was turning, and I was in a turn lane, and I didn't realize it. And, you know, so, like, I had to swerve over, and, of course, he's, like, honking and all pissed. And I'm, like, actually, like, trying to apologize to him, like, so sorry and stuff, you know. Normally you just kind of act like you didn't see him or something, you know what I mean? But I was really trying to express how sorry I was and stuff. I was like, I'm sorry. Just kind of shook his head at me and whatnot. But yeah, we all make mistakes, so.
Yes. Yeah, I make plenty. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I had a revelation years ago, this was about road rage. And that when we have so little control in our lives, and so when we get into our cars, it's like an extension of ourselves, you know, like a tool. You know, they talk about you're using a tool, and it's like a part of your hand that just lets you do something else. So your car is like an extension of yourself. It's a tool that you're using. So people feel like when their car is mistreated somehow, that space is somehow sacrosanct.
Yeah.
And so they've lost control of their space, and they're mad at that one little more bit of lost control.
Yeah.
So, and then we want control because we just exist in this place without any memory, without any control of anything that we think or know of.
Yeah.
But that's the funny thing, is that when you let go of that desire to control everything around you, it is so much easier. Everything just flows. It's like instead of fighting the river so that you can stay on the side of it that you want, you just let the current carry you and you flow.
Go with the flow.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's actually liberating, though, when you have that realization that, you know, of course we've got our little things that we got to work on, but I don't feel like you can make like a wrong choice. I feel like you can make a difficult choice, but you'll still, like, it's kind of like you're guided to a certain extent. You got free will and stuff, but I think you'll be kept on track by, you know, higher forces eventually.
Yeah.
At least that seems that way with me as I've jumped around from religion to religion and just been on this path. It seems like I've always been working towards where I am now, you know what I mean? That I didn't never, you know, I don't even recognize myself. If I was to get a 30-year-old version of me, you know, be like, no way I believe any of the stuff he believes, you know? So that's funny.
Cool.
Or that
I feel the opposite. I feel like I started out this life as a really pure soul. And life just trashed me. And now I have to let go of all of that and clean it all up and shine myself back up so I can be presentable again. It's time for a bath. Veronica needs a bath.
I see.
With a big scrub brush, yeah. So I really feel like this is going backwards for me, that I'm having to release everything that life tried to put into my head and into my heart, and the walls that I put up to protect myself. And, really, I had just really blocked off my heart when my sister passed away. I was like, I shut down. And I also had an incident with my job where I failed to be able to trust anybody anymore. And I felt like I couldn't trust myself anymore, that I couldn't trust my own discernment, my own judgment, my own feeling about people. So it destroyed me. It really did. And I had to just start all over. And so I'm going backwards.
Do you feel like you're carrying around unnecessary baggage though? Like, I don't know, sometimes we can maybe make a mistake and then we'll carry it along, but we've really learned our lesson from it, but we still kind of bring it along,
No. Up until this year, yes. I mean, oh my goodness. I was like, the extra heavy duty size luggage carts where they pull the train into the airplanes that's covered with, you've got 10 things full of baggage. Yeah, I had one of those carts. I carried everything. And I blamed myself for everything. Everything that I thought I didn't handle perfectly, I carried it around with me.
So that's part of that's part of this cleaning up process you're talking about then, is getting rid of this baggage and stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I've talked about it, that I'm very active in this relationship with my angel, that my guardian angel is like my guide, and just took me emotionally into every situation where I had judged myself and kind of recreated it. And I couldn't even begin to describe what it was like, because it was all mental. It was all in my head. But everything, I mean, to the point where I was in tears, sobbing all night, and just worked out every single one of them, almost. Obviously, I still have some hangers on, or I wouldn't have triggers still hitting me. But
speaking of triggers, I've actually got, if you would like for one to join in with the conversation, because I can have all of us on here. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's hear about her trigger situation. Are you there, Eileen? Oh,
I am. Can you guys actually hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, you're on with me and Ronnie.
Ronnie! We're connected. It's really strange, because it took me a while to call in and get the right codes in. And then it's a different time that you two are talking than on my computer with YouTube. It's not quite synced, is it?
No, this is much more real time when you're listening in on the phone.
Yeah. So I turned my computer off because it was very confusing. I was like, in a world. I got one foot in each world right now. But Ronnie, you were cracking me up, because I kind of know your personality from chatting with you in the chats and listening to you. And you've got, you're really smart, and you know psychology, and you don't take any stuff from people, right? You're just like knowledgeable and strong. So when you said you just went, oh, bless you, and walked away, I was just laughing my butt off. And then you went, thank you, Eileen. I'll bet that was funny when I see people who normally would just love to give someone an earful, just bless them, I'm sure it kind of shocks the person as well, that they were trying to trigger you and you didn't fall for it?
Well, I did, but it was after, and that was my message for everybody, was that I wish that I had remembered your message in the moment instead of 5 minutes later. So he didn't hear me.
That's kind of hard. What's his name? You know him. You know the guy. Who wrote The Power of the Now? Be in the Now? Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right?
Eckhart Tolle, yeah.
He says, take a breath. He says, every time you get triggered, say nothing. Take a breath and then speak. And he says that one moment of taking a breath can switch you into the zone you want to be in, so that you don't just immediately emote, just boom, without thinking.
So that's why I had so many different bosses over the years that would always do that before they talk to me. They sort of stop and take a deep breath.
Yep.
Now I told you to.
Were you just living a life of triggering?
I'm laughing at you because I can't imagine you triggering anyone ever over anything. You're just too laid back.
Yeah, I'm a different person.
I have a great trigger story for you, and I can only tell it tonight. And God, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that the people who I invited to tomorrow night's show are not listening tonight, because then I'm in big trouble if I tell this story. Okay.
Okay. Don't say the names then.
It's like I could get caught, but if I do, that's okay. Truth is truth, and you have to stand up to your truth and, take it, right? You got to take what comes after the truth. So I joined Lynn McTaggart's Master Intention class, Power of 8, for 2019. And we did the first lesson last Saturday. We have the second lesson this Saturday. And I got 12 people in my group randomly. But my sister's on Mountain Time, so I said, put me in Mountain Time, because they will actually put family and friends together. So I'm in a group with my sister and 11 other people. And this story is going to sound terrible. I don't know how I can say it. If I get caught telling it, I'm in deep doo-doo. So there's a group of people in a certain mountain town, because one of the ladies contacted us all and said, hello, welcome. When are people available to meet once a week to do a live intention over Zoom? Because that's the deal. We have to do an intention with a group of people we don't know once a week, live on a video chat. And I put any day but Saturday. That's my day to catch up on emails with you guys and comments and prepare for the show, or, whatever, just do my YouTube work. And a bunch of guys went, any evening after 5 o'clock and any weekend. So obviously they work 9 to 5. And then a handful of women, I know this sounds terrible, said, I'm available on Monday at 1 or 3. I'm available on Wednesday at 11. And I'm available Friday at 10. They gave us 3 hours of availability for the whole week. And, one of our guys is from Saudi Arabia. So I'm like, and there's a couple that did that kind of a response, 3 people gave such a restricted response that I felt like they had no concern for everybody in the group. So I got really mad. I was triggered. I'm in Lynn McTaggart's class, trying to do loving attentions, and I'm totally triggered by this.
Oh, no.
Think of the irony of it. That's hilarious.
The irony of it. So I'm trying to write a super, super duper nice FU letter, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh. And I'm trying not to be triggered, so I took the breath, and I waited a whole day. And then tonight or tomorrow, I'm going to contact them and say, I'm so glad that you 3 are available, 3 hours a week. However, we have a man in Saudi Arabia who, those 3 hours might not work for him. And we have a couple of men working 9 to 5 who probably can't just zone out in the bathrooms to do their hour-long intention meeting. So I'm going to propose that we do a daytime intention for the daytime people and a nighttime intention for the nighttime people. And you can go to one or both or the other. You don't have to have 8 people. And I know which group I'm going to go into. I'm going into the nighttime group. Because I'm kind of ticked off at the daytime group,
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally hilarious.
And I invited them to tomorrow's show so I could get caught. They could be listening right now. They're going to go, we triggered her. She's mad,
I could switch your name to something else.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not the person who told you about her Power of 8 show. This is Ronnie in Florida's, Ronnie and Virginia's sister in Florida. Oh, I know.
So all the triggers then,
Well, that actually it actually sounds like an opportunity for the group leader, Lynn, to address this kind of an issue of, that the groups should have similar timetables to facilitate better interaction. So I would toss it back to her with kindness
she's got
and say,
1,000. Can you believe it? She's got 1,000 in this year's Power of 8 Master Intention course. And she said, get together and just work out your schedules. And the problem is half of us are flexible and considerate, and the other half are inflexible and not considerate. So I think I'm going to try to handle it with a nice letter. I took that deep breath. I stepped away and didn't say what I wanted to say. So now I'm going to say something nice, but I'm still going to suggest we run 2 groups a week because Lynn says meet at least once a week. She's like, you're going to do this for 12 months. The minimum that you should be attending with your group is once a week. And if we have twice a week, that means if you miss it on one day, you can catch the other one. So it's not a bad thing. It's not, it's not too bad. And I think I'm going to do it all politely. But boy, was I triggered. I'm like, this is why I don't do groups. This is why I don't take these courses,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to work with people. That's when I was in college. They always made us do those stupid group projects. Oh, everybody hated them. Because there was always somebody who never participated at all, and somebody else who was always full of promises and then didn't participate at all. And so it would wind up being like 3 people who did all the work and got dragged down by the non-participatory people. So
it is hard working in groups, isn't it? I agree.
Yeah,
that's a real test of your patience.
Well, I think that's why Shane's show works so well, because he accommodates overseas people by having shows at different hours. If you're going to put yourself out to work with other people, you have to be willing to accommodate to some extent and to try and make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, and other people may have to make themselves a little bit uncomfortable, but then you can do it.
Yeah. That's exactly why I had Debbie on Saturday, because she's like, I work through the week and I'm really tired. I'm like, well, why don't we just do one in the daytime on Saturday? That way, you're not tired.
That was such a nice surprise. Oh, and this is the actual irony that I didn't even tell you guys. We got homework this week from Lynn, and she said, please write down your triggers. She's like, take notice of what triggers you. When did it trigger you? How? And I'm like, I cannot go to this first meeting and go, hi, guys, my name is Eileen, when you have to do that. And my trigger was all of you guys,
What's really interesting, though, is when if you even told them what triggered you about people being inflexible and inconsiderate, that they would not see it in themselves. They would think they were talking about somebody else. Yeah, that's our self-protection of ego is really makes our own behavior invisible to us. Yeah.
I think that's why I work on myself, and I tell people, I am not perfect. I am stubborn. I am reactive. I overreact to things. I really pay attention to my negative side so that I can work on those things, because I do want to change them. I want to be more patient before I exit the planet. That's the main thing. And I want to be more patient with people I don't know, because I extend a lot of patience to my loved ones, like family and friends, and I don't necessarily extend that patience to strangers,
Yeah.
So
well,
that's
maybe
what I'm
it's
working
not changing yourself, but changing your perspective of how you view people outside of your family. Maybe you need to start thinking of them as all extended family.
Well, I do kind of believe we're all one, as in the Course of Miracles, in terms of life. And I do feel really at home in our community, this community. but I don't always have the highest opinion of humanity in general. So that's probably where it's stemming from.
I know, me too. I feel so bad. It's like, I know I'm here to help people, but what happens when I don't like them? So do I have to like everybody? You know, if they're part of me,
I love
there's
you.
parts
We're all
of me
connected.
I don't like.
You greedy bugger, you. Stop being so greedy. Oh,
yeah,
my God,
really,
I know how you feel.
I think all of us used to be
was,
people persons until people ruined that for us, though, right? Most of us.
Yeah, I used to like people until I got to know them.
Right.
People who go, I love animals, I love dogs. I don't like people. You know, I've met so many people like that who love animals but hate people. Oh, my God. Oh, well, I'll get off so you can talk, because I don't know. You just made me smile tonight. Thank you, Ronnie, and I've been triggered all day.
So I want you to stay on for a second, because I want to ask you both really about, you know, your name is one, and, you know, you've talked about, you know, Shane has his religious background, and I really don't want to give myself up. I'm really worried about what happens after that, you know, having to, you know, am I going to cease existing once we go back out there? What happens to us? I'm really, I don't want to give myself up. I like me. It took me a long time to like me again. And now I like me, and I don't want to give me up. So I want to hear your thoughts.
That's really awesome. Well, see, Shane knows my background more than people who listen to our show do. And I grew up in Chicago, Trinidad, and Egypt as a Christian, exposed to all these different religions. And I was educated at a Catholic school that I hated, because it was, you know, the nuns would, like, you know, some of the nuns were nice, and some of them would pick you up and throw you across the table. It was the 1960s. And then I went to a Jesuit university to do psychology and journalism. So I have this really weird background, but I died in 1977 because my father was with the oil company. He was with Standard Oil, which became Amoco, which was bought by BP. And we had to get loads of vaccinations. Like, we got vaccinations for smallpox and yellow fever and gamma globulin that you guys never got in the 60s and 70s. And they overdosed me. You did?
Yeah, we went to a run when I was 13 in the 70s. Yeah.
There you go. We got the same background. So I was 12 when we started going overseas. So I got super dosed up, and the company doctor in a suburb of Cairo called Mahdi, where we lived, and I had a little nursery school there when I was 18. But when I was like 17, he gave me a shot of DT, diphtheria tetanus, because we were going to take the Egyptian train down to Luxor. And, you know, we're dealing with water issues on the train and broken metal and all kinds of things. But my dad was an adventurer, and he was so cheap. He never wanted to spend money. So whatever country we were in, we traveled like the locals traveled, which is quite interesting, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't recommend it everywhere in the world. So this doctor gave me a shot of DT. It burned bright red in my arm. It hurt. It burned. And as we were walking out of his office into the reception room, I said, this really burns. And that's the last thing I said. Everything went black. And I passed out. I had anaphylaxis. I think Sherry's in the room, somebody said. So she's a nurse. So she'll know what an anaphylactic shock or anaphylaxis is. It's when your heartbeat stops, your blood pressure stops, the whole body goes into shock and just stops working completely. And I guess it's a mechanism to stop the spread of poison, because if my heart was pumping, it would spread that poison all over my body, right? And they carried me to a little examining room next door, in which I suddenly opened my eyes, and I was floating above my body, mirroring it, like 6 to 8 feet above it. And my head was over my head, my arms were over my arms, my feet were over my feet. So I still was aware of a cloud-like body, but I couldn't see my body. I could only sense it, but it felt like it was made of air. So So I don't even know if I had a body, but I just had the memory of a body. And I watched and listened as they resuscitated me. I heard what the doctor said. I saw what he did. I saw what my dad did. I heard what the nurses did. He sent them down to the car to get adrenaline shots. They were taking too long, so he left me alone with my dad, and he went to get the adrenaline shots. And my dad was, like, roughly stroking my head and crying, saying, Eileen, speak to me. And I'm like, wow, what is happening to that young woman down there? It's sad to say that I did not know that that was me. And a lot of people who are jolted out of their bodies, who watch resuscitations on themselves, watch out of curiosity. Yep, they don't feel any pain, no fear, no pain, no sadness. I wasn't, like, numb, like, oh, she doesn't care. It wasn't like that. I was just curious. And I didn't know they were working on me. I had no identity with the 17-year-old on the table. And the doctor came back in, 2 shots of adrenaline, heart resuscitation, mouth resuscitation. He didn't have any paddles, which is amazing because now I bet oil companies have paddles in their doctor's offices and medical offices, doctor medical offices on the company site. Like, we didn't use the hospitals in Cairo. We used our own doctors if we worked for, a company. And the next thing I know, he's saying, speak to me, talk to me, because obviously he got my heart going and my breathing going. And I turned my head to the wall and said, let me go. Now, why would a 17-year-old who's happy with life say, hey, guys, I don't want to be in this body. Come on, just let me go. It's so much freer up there, Mm-hmm. And then he gave me the second shot of adrenaline, which meant I had to lay flat for 8 hours or risk having a heart attack if I even sat up or attempted to walk, because usually you don't get 2 human doses of adrenaline to anybody, but being a 17-year-old young, fit girl, he felt safe doing it. And that's when I opened my eyes and started talking to them, and I told them everything that they had said and done. And the doctor, who was Egyptian, and my dad, who's Irish Catholic, both believed that I had watched every moment of the resuscitation from the ceiling, because I got it all right. Everything they said, everything they did in the correct order, I was just up there watching the whole time. So in answer to your question, I can say 100% hand on heart, you do not die when your body dies. There's something outside of the body that is still you. Now, I didn't get to go through a tunnel, hear music, see angels, see Jesus, see my dead grandmother. I didn't get that far. I never left the room. But I can tell you, whatever it was that was watching me was not just going to disappear. It was like a real entity. It was a real being. It was my spirit, my soul, my consciousness, whatever you want to call it, was completely unscathed by the anaphylactic shock to my body. So that's it. I'm done. Long story.
So yeah, that's like the like if somebody gets peanuts and they're allergic to peanuts and they go into anaphylactic shock and they have to have that shot right on hand to save their life and stuff. That's
And I got 2 of those.
Benadryl, they do.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, epinephrine, EpiPen, epinephrine. It's adrenaline, yeah. And so consequently, I've lived my whole life absolutely fearless. Like, oh, we don't die anyway, so, if you want to go do it, go do it, but not in like a stupid way. I have done stupid things as well. But, yeah, like climb a pyramid. I mean, come on, there's no nets, and they're very crumbly, so I've grown out of that. I think once you have children, you want to preserve your life so that you can take care of your children.
Yes.
So
I had an incident. This is my alien story. I don't know. Did I tell you my alien story before?
No.
I had some kind of surgery. I've had a knee surgery and I had carpal tunnel surgery on both my hands. So I can't remember which incident it was. And but I had surgery and I couldn't sleep. I was really uncomfortable and I was going to wake up my husband because I was just trying to get comfortable and I couldn't. So I decided to just get out of bed so he could sleep. And I went and grabbed a pillow and blanket and sheets, and I fixed everything on the couch so I could just lay down on the couch and be uncomfortable there. Except I laid down and I was like really comfortable. So I was very aware this whole time. You know, I remember doing all of this. So I laid down, and I actually, for the first time, I was like positioned perfectly, and I was like, oh my God, this is so comfortable. And I went, sigh. And as soon as I did that, everything in the room was dark. It lit up with a red glow. And I could see into the kitchen, and I could see everything in the house with this red glow. It was just, everything was just glowing red. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. And I should have been really, really scared. And I wasn't. I had absolutely no fear. It was like somebody had just turned my fear switch off. And I thought, okay, something is here and it's going to kill me. That's it. I'm going to die. It's going to kill me. And I'm just curious what is here. So I just thought in my head. Now, all this time, what I didn't say is I was totally paralyzed. I couldn't even move my eyeballs. I was just breathing. I could breathe in and out, very regulated breathing. Like that was the only thing that I could do, and I couldn't change my breathing. So I just sat there and I was like, they were open. I was looking at a spot across the room, and all I could see was what was in that part of my vision. So I could see into the dining room, and I could see the wall in front of me where the TV was and the front door. And there was no light outside. All the light was inside the house. It was so weird. So I just like, I want to see what this is. And I thought, well, if I'm going to die, you know, I want my family to know I love them. So I was just thinking, I wanted to say, I love you. I want you to tell them I love them. Tell them I love them. And I thought it, and I was screaming it. I was actually screaming in my head, tell them I love them. Tell them I love them. Oh. My voice finally said, it was like I broke the paralysis just enough to, and I sounded like Donald Duck when I said it, but I said, tell them I love them. And that was it. I was exhausted. And I was like, okay, I want to see what's here. And something came from my left and over my, you know, like into my vision where I could just see part of a face. Mm-hmm. And it was not human. It had...
so you did see something in the room after or during the paralysis. Okay.
Face. Yeah, oh, wow. Just
was it gray? Did you see a gray? Did you see a gray face, like the typical gray?
It was. No, it wasn't typical, but it was like a blue-gray. And the first thing that I noticed and I thought was, oh my God, it has the hugest nose. It had an enormous nose, not the little tiny nothing nose like gray aliens have. It had like a Jimmy Durante honker. I mean, huge nose. And I was like, what on earth, man? So
have you looked up different aliens that have been seen? And have you seen something that resembles what you saw? Have you found that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Linda
cute.
Moulton House.
It's gray, and it's taller, isn't it?
It was. It was like bending over. I was laying on the couch, propped up on pillows.
Gray.
Yeah. So it was taller than, you know, it was probably at least my height, and I'm 5'6". So, but
I am getting, since I did my disclosure video, I am getting loads of emails from people who have had similar experiences to what you're describing tonight, Ronnie, who have heard the sonic booms. And I'm like trying to answer everybody separately because they're feeling like, oh, I'm so glad somebody told me about this because it makes me feel better. I mean, Shane, you could do a whole alien show where people who have had experiences can come on and just talk about their experiences like Ronnie just had, because I'm starting to find they're really, really common. You know, a lot of people have had a lot of interesting, questionable experiences like you just described.
Yeah, that's why I actually had Sherry Wild on. Is that her name? Yeah, Sherry Wild.
And you've got Sherry for Overprotected for Paranormal Frequencies as well.
Right. But I was thinking, Sherry Wild had that. She had the book Forgotten Promise that talked, detailed her whole journey with this whole abduction thing and remembering after not remembering for years. But yeah, that was kind of my hopes, is that it would encourage other experiencers to come out and talk about their stuff too.
Well, maybe if I get emails like I have been about experiences like your experience, Ronnie, I should say I'll talk to you about it privately, but if you want to, go on Shane and Sherry's Monday night Paranormal Frequencies and share it with our community. You can talk to them live about what your experience was, because I immediately thought when you saw the red room that it was one of two things. I thought you were either astro traveling on your way in your body or on your way out of your body, or you were experiencing an abduction experience. Those were the two possibilities that popped in my mind, because when I had my experiences, I saw blue. I saw blue, blue-green, blue, white. I never saw red, so it really depends on the person, the group, their level of consciousness, Can I ask how you came out of it? Did you go back to sleep? Did you wake your husband up? Once you could say in your Donald Duck voice, I love my family, what did you do? Did you just go straight to sleep?
No, it was crazy. I saw that face, and above it, it was in the corner of the room. I mean, at the exact corner where the ceiling and the walls meet. So it wasn't a window. It wasn't a light coming in from a window. There was like a pin of blinding white light, and it just got brighter and brighter and bigger and bigger, and in an instant it just washed out my vision. And then it went away, and the room was back to 100% normal. I was back to 100% normal.
That could have been an hour later. That could have been later,
Yeah, it could have been. I have no idea, because I just had this wonderful, lovely feeling. Oh, I'm just happy, and I'm going to sleep. And instantly I went to sleep. And, I mean, how weird is that?
That's
you just
weird.
had an encounter with something, and you're like,
I can't answer the chat, but I'm kind of watching it a little on my computer. I'm not good at talking and reading at the same time. Tammy C. Light is saying she heard the booms too, and her friends have heard it. And a lot of people have experienced these lights, the paralysis, the sonic booms. It seems to be like more common than we think. And I think a lot of people have experienced it, but they have no memory of it. Yeah, they just don't remember experiencing it. Maybe they slept through the whole thing.
But it's a common thing.
I think
what
I
I'm
was
hearing.
supposed to be asleep.
Yeah, I think it's a common thing that what you're talking about, where you kind of just act in a way that doesn't seem normal for the situation, just like, hey, I want to just go back to bed. And it was like that with Eileen and her story of having that cut, how she kind of stuck to the story about getting scratched. And
yeah, by the rabbit.
Yeah.
Poor Kate Wright is never going to sleep tonight. You're so funny, Kate. I bet you're on somebody's cosmic list up there already.
A benevolent one, Kate. No worries.
Yeah, no worries. I'll send mine. If my cosmic visitors come tonight, I'll go see Kate Wright. You know where she lives.
Don't be speaking Kate out.
The weird thing to me was that the white light, I did not see the Men in Black movie until it was on TV, like years after it came out, because I didn't have money to go see it. And I was also working 60-hour weeks and night shift and everything, so I missed a lot of movies in that time when it came out. And so when I finally saw it and they had that light and they flash the light at people's eyes and make up the story and tell them, oh, everything is going to be fine and you're all a happy family now. That's what I was like, oh my God, who knew that? Who knew and wrote that into that movie? Because
probably
that's exactly
who knew and wrote it into the movie, because they know these things. They just turn up in Star Trek. Like, I'm telling you guys, that prime directive is real. There's not a lot they can do unless you agree to it, and most have agreed before they even came here. So they're like, why me? Why me? And it's like, well, maybe you made a contract with them before you actually arrived,
That's so sad. I mean, to think that like he doesn't remember us. You know what I mean?
It's kind of sad, isn't it?
He's scared of
okay,
us.
Here's another Eileen story. Are you guys ready? Because I told you And in my video, I only told like the top 5 stories because my family has a lot of these. My mom, my sister, me, and then the men in our families, my sister's children, and my husband and my sister's husband. They get involved too, you know. So it's by extension, I guess. And I was in Germany. I don't know. Did I put this one in the video? No. I might have told about being, yes, I did. I was living in a caretaker's cottage or a grandmother's cottage near a woods. And I told in my video how I woke up and there was grass in my bed, which was true. And then I walked through the woods in sunlight and I found like a landing patch, you know, and I'm like, oh, I know what this burnt out circle of grass is. And I went and stood in it and some dogs came up and barked at me, but they wouldn't come into the burnt out circle. Mm-hmm. And then I called all the authorities. What caused the burnout? Was it an illegal dump of toxic chemicals? Did you tear out the grass there in the middle of this grassy knoll, you know, huge park? You know, and nobody ever gave me an answer, so I just gave up. But the part that I left out of that, which I will, if we ever write a book on it, my sister and I will definitely go into the details, is that particular night I saw a blue light come into my room, middle of the night. I had been sleeping before, so, you know, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever, 3 or 4, 2, 3, 4, and I was paralyzed, but I could open my eyes, and the whole room was blue. And then I was lifted out of the bed and turned around like a sausage on a spit, or a pig on a spit. I was turned around and around and around and wrapped like in a gauze that the only way I can describe it is like it was a spider web. And I was floated out of my bedroom window into a kind of bluey white light, and that's all I saw. And I kept saying to them, leave me awake, leave me awake. I want to know. I want to know. Don't knock me out. Don't knock me out. I was frantic in my mind, like you were, Ronnie, saying, tell my family I love them. I love them. In my mind, I'm going, don't knock me out. I want to know. I want to experience this. And the next thing I know, I don't remember going up, but the next thing I know, I'm on a cold metal stainless steel table, right? And there are some really big stainless steel prods, like what Dustin the Wind was saying. Oh, sorry, guys, I wasn't prodded and poked, but, you know, he was sharing his experience. But that's the only way I can describe them, is that they were like big metal things that came to a point and nothing was on them. Like they weren't a syringe, they weren't a laser, they weren't a light, and they moved over my head with all different shapes and sizes, and I'm like, holy shit, put me out, put me out. And I was just screaming, I don't want to see it, I don't want to see it. And the next thing I know, I woke up in my bed with grass in my bed.
Oh,
so, you know, I almost got to experience it.
You chickened out. I don't blame you, though.
I totally
I don't
chickened
blame
out.
you.
And then I lost, it was really interesting because I lost a tooth about a year later. For no particular reason. I have like one cavity in my life, maybe 2. And, you know, a year or 2 later, I moved to England, and this guy's like, I need to pull this tooth out. And I don't know. I don't know if they were like working on that tooth, because I have noticed that when you understand you have a mutual agreement with them, you can ask for them to help you if you're going to help them. If you're going to give them your DNA and your reproductive bits, you know, like eggs and sperm, for whatever, then if something goes wrong in your body, by rights, you can say, hey guys, hey Cosmic Family, can you fix this for me? And I have had a couple of things fixed.
That's awesome.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And one of them was a bad tooth where the root was going, and I was like, I don't want a root canal. I've never had one, but I didn't want one, and it took care of itself. I asked for a little help, and I got it. So that was one instance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Especially if they can maybe throw you some lotto numbers or something. I'm just teasing.
I haven't asked for that. I need that, but I'm like, I can't abuse this relationship, you know? Right? You know, I'm trying to play good. I'm trying to, like, not abuse it. I'm sure they go, ha ha, nice try.
Well, I always wondered, because I had the sense, I felt a presence in the room. You know, as soon as the red light was there, I knew I wasn't alone. I knew that there was somebody there. But the only thing that wasn't in my vision was immediately behind me. And the only thing that was behind me was a computer desk in the corner that was very close to the back of my head. So I was like, was it like checking the computer, or was it doing something to my head back there? You know, what was it doing? So I always feel my head. I'm like, okay, is there like something that's not supposed to be there? Is there a lump that moves when I touch it and goes away? So yeah, it's still.
Yeah, I can sense when they're in the room, and my child can sense when they're in the room too. We can just tell before we open our eyes. It's like, I don't know. I just saw April say, Eileen, do you know them by name? And I actually don't. I haven't looked up. I see them every now and then. I see people drawing pictures of them because I've got the Greys who do the catching and the delivering. That's all. And then once up, I've got the tall Nordic Scandinavians, but they don't really look Scandinavian. They look alien. They have pure white faces in white robes with long white hair and really long, skinny fingers. So I kind of know my group, but I don't know their names. I haven't gone that far. I haven't looked into what do people on Earth call them. I think they call them the Scandinavians. And I've seen pictures of yours, Ronnie, the really cute 5-foot-tall gray alien with the big bulbous nose, almost like
it wasn't
like W.C. Fields, the guy who had a huge nose, right? Because he drank so much.
No, it was like a hook nose, like big, not bulbous, like big hook nose, huge.
Gotcha.
And the only place that I saw it was Linda Moulton Howe had an old sighting drawing from like the 1960s. And I actually joined her website so I could get the picture again, because she had it up on the public page, and then it went back into the archives. And the being was standing, somebody had met this being on an airfield, and it was like high-level generals and stuff, and it was wearing, in that drawing, it was like wearing sort of Egyptian-looking garb. But the one that I was wearing, the one that I saw, I couldn't see what it was wearing. I couldn't see anything except for its face and in profile. It just like moved in front of me in profile, and it didn't have hair.
And did it feel okay? Did it feel okay?
Pardon?
Like you didn't feel threatened? You felt okay? You didn't feel like, oh my God, this creature is so scary, it's going to kill me? You didn't feel that?
Well, I believed that it was going to kill me first. I thought, well, back then I didn't really believe in aliens, but I was brought up in the, Poltergeist era, Poltergeist movie,
me too.
Exorcist movie. So I was like, okay, it's got to be a demon, red light demon. It's got to be some kind of evil thing, and it's going to kill me. So I was just like logicked myself into what I thought, but I didn't actually I didn't have any fear. It was literally like somebody turned my fear switch off. It was not possible to have fear. And that's why I know fear is attached to your body. It's just attached to your body. It's a defense system that helps you survive on Earth. Being afraid of falling off a cliff is a good thing. It keeps you from falling off a cliff. So, when you don't have a body anymore, I know that fear does not exist. It just doesn't. It's not there. You don't even understand it. It's just not there.
It didn't exist when I was dead and watching my body get resuscitated. No fear. And a family member, they would switch their fear off too. And me, I just know them since I was a child, so I just don't fear them. I didn't fear them growing up. I thought it was super cool. I was like, hey, I got friends up there, and I just left it at that.
Yeah, that's my only strong memory of any kind of interaction like that. where I saw
How
something
long
and
ago
was
was
aware of it.
How long ago? When did it happen?
Well, it was probably like 2005 or 2006 or 2007.
So were you like
about
fertile
11.
at the time? Getting personal on this show, you know, we're telling the whole world.
Yeah,
I didn't get many visitations. Yeah, I didn't get many visitations after I went through menopause. And I was telling Shane, we were talking about this stuff off air, and I was like, God, you know, I'm like, have you abandoned me? Is that it? It's over? It's like, thanks for the eggs, we're gone now? You know, I felt kind of put out. And I was walking the dog, you know, I like walking between like midnight and 2 a.m., and it's a closed, gated community, so I feel safe here. And I was just looking at the stars and talking to them and saying, can you just send me some kind of a sign that you're still here, that you're still with me, that I haven't been thrown out with, you know, the old cheese or something, you know, like, oh, we don't need her anymore, so adios, amiga. Yeah, exactly. And it was a week later that I got the triangle mark on my wrist. But when I got the triangle mark, I didn't remember having asked them for a sign. I thought I'd get like a white feather at my doorstep or a white feather in my bed, you know, just something kind of cool. And I got like, it was like a non-painful burn or laser or razor laceration of a perfect triangle on the inside of my wrist, which is healed now, but it's left quite a red scar in a perfect triangle.
Wow. Wow.
And I got the triangle in white on my ankle like 10 years earlier that wouldn't scrape off. That was a big one. And it was just a white, rough, the skin had died, and it was white and fluffy, and even a loofah couldn't remove it. It was like it had to wear off. It took weeks for like a 2 by 2 by 2 inch triangle on my inside ankle to wear off. And this is just like a half an inch less, like a quarter of an inch by quarter of an inch by quarter of an inch. So the triangle wasn't a non-experienced symbol for me because I had seen it before on my ankle. And it's not very fancy, is it? It's not like a hieroglyph or something. It's pretty common.
Yeah.
Some sacred geometry. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an unusual injury, you know, for having two spots like that is enormously unusual, because who gets a triangle injury? Nobody. You get straight lines.
I'll take
you get
photos.
jagged
I'm going to
lines.
give them to Sherry. And I've got photos of my white triangle on my ankle from maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago. 6 years ago. And I have all the photos of the healing of the current triangle on my wrist, which came a week after. I was like, well, I guess you guys are done with me now. Okay, well, you know, see you in another lifetime, you know, basically feeling a little hurt.
No, I totally get that. I don't have anything that I can remember. Now, I've done weird stuff, like weird sleepwalking things that were real weird, like, I don't know, just in half asleep states, but that's about the only weird thing that could be connected to something else. But I don't think so. I think I'm just a weird sleepwalking person.
I was a sleepwalking person. Maybe they like sleepwalking people because we can go into somnambulism, which is the lowest level of hypnosis, and still talk and walk and act as if we're awake. You know, we're not. We're sound asleep.
Yeah. Totally, yeah. And I've had weird things like that I just don't know. And my mom used to laugh at me. She's like, because I'd say I'm eating with my friends. It always felt like I'd get up in the middle of the night and eat like cereal, and I'd like set 2 bowls there, and she'd be like, what were you doing? I was like, I was eating with my friends. I don't know. So I don't know. Could have been. You know, the bowls were never eaten out of, or, you know what I'm saying? They weren't ever like, but maybe I did sense the presence there, and I really, you know, in that half asleep state.
Maybe astrally. Did you ever think you were astrally projecting and eating with your friends? Like, somebody in our group has been saying about meeting up with us in dream time.
Yeah.
Like, they're having dreams with the people in our community. And I'm like, well, we might actually be meeting up somewhere, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally think so.
Awesome.
Yeah, we just don't remember it.
So, and I wouldn't be surprised
I'm not
if our group
remembering
didn't have a soul connection anyway, right, Ronnie? I mean, we instantly
Absolutely.
take to each other so quickly. It's like we're from the same soul group, the Oversoul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
It does. It feels. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. There's a delay on there, so I apologize. I was actually just gonna say that in Austin it wasn't as draining getting with people like that. You didn't like leave feeling like, I don't know. Normally I feel drained if I leave a group of people just hanging out, but it wasn't like that at all. It's like it made you feel energized to be with like-minded people.
I've got to have a meeting.
For someone who doesn't
Yeah.
like, I don't like groups either. I able groups. I really do. You know, it doesn't sound like I do, but I do. You know, I'm a bit of a hermit.
Yeah, same.
I would love to see how many of the people in the chat are like that, because that's me too. I like very small.
Enjoy your own
like
company. Yeah.
5 people. Yeah, most of the time I like to be alone, but no more than 5 people for a group, or I just freak out. It just feels overwhelming. I feel everybody. So I wonder
I feel
how
like I
many
can
people in
entertain
the group.
everybody. Yeah. I feel like, okay, you know, there's somebody lonely over there. There's someone being left out over there. You know, I'm very much the group mama. I'm wanting to make sure everybody feels okay. You know, it's hard work for me.
Yeah. It just is exhausting to me. If I can walk into a room and if people have been arguing, I just feel it. It's like the tension in the air. And, if you've looked into what really started me looking into the difference in people was highly sensitive people. HSP, and that's Dr. Elaine Aron did that. And it's really fascinating that it started, Carl Jung is actually the one who came up with that idea, and he said that he thought he saw the trait of introversion in even animal populations, and since then, recently they've been studying it, and they found that yes, it is, in even fish populations have a percentage that are introvert, what they call introvert. And an introvert doesn't mean you don't like people or you're antisocial. It just means that you prefer your quiet time. So now,
Yeah, that would be me, because I'm an extrovert.
Empath.
Yeah, I'm an extrovert, and I'm not an empath. But I love people, and I love my own company. I like to be left alone. So I'm exhibiting, enjoying all the different traits of introvert and extrovert.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of us
are.
Introvert.
Yeah.
Hermit here. Terry says.
Yeah. Well, except when you're singing on stage. Remember we were talking about that? I was a newscaster. I had morning radio shows to deliver the news. So I acted as if I loved being out there. And Shane used to perform in bands and live. But then when you get us off the stage, it's run into a hole somewhere, grab a book, and leave us alone, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are like that. I'd totally be the guy that just was in the dressing room until it was time. I wouldn't be mingling and stuff. I don't know. It's just not because I feel like I'm better. It's just I don't typically hang around people,
That was like my husband.
He
would just sit and listen to people, and he was English, and he was 20 years older than me, and everybody loved him. But he was the quietest one in the room, and he made everybody feel comfortable, but he wanted to hear your story. He didn't want to tell his story,
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I wish I could have met him.
Is that pretty much how you are too, Ronnie?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. I go into a room and I want other people to talk, so I'll encourage them so I don't have to.
Right, but you'll step up to the plate if you have to.
Yeah. Because I feel the discomfort. When everybody else feels uncomfortable, I feel all of it. So I am so uncomfortable that I have to do something to change it. So, when we were at work, I got into the, lean team thing. So we were having a lean team meeting, and it was our first meeting, and everybody was supposed to start participating, and nobody would. So it's like, oh, I can't stand it. So I talked, and when I was in college, the teacher was like, okay, I'm going to just leave you all to, figure out who you are, and I'll come back later. So nobody was talking. Everybody was just sitting there looking at each other and uncomfortable, and I couldn't stand it. So it's like, okay, my name is this, and, blah, blah, blah. So because I can't stand the feeling. Everybody else's feelings overwhelms me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yep, same here.
And I'm like, yeah, so we'll step up and like get the party going and make everybody feel comfortable, but that's not what we want to do. We want to sit back and watch and listen. It's really interesting.
Hey, what is that test called? Just people are the test that you can take, the free test online. What is it called to find out if you're IFNP or whatever it is?
Oh,
yeah, I saw that.
Don't actually take that INFJ and stuff. If I did a research paper on the highly sensitive people, on the information that she was putting out, and it's so much more accurate than the other personality tests. The other personality tests are actually not great. They don't link back to anything, and the highly sensitive people, they have actually been able to link those people now to genetically, that it is a genetic state of being, that you actually do sense the world differently than other people.
And they have an online test you can take?
Yeah. Yes. It's
okay.
hsperson.com, I think.
Person. Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Elaine with an E, E-L-A-I-N-E, Aron, A-R-O-N. And she's done a lot of research. Her research is available if you're into reading research papers. She publishes them. She wrote an article about Carl Jung, and so it starts back at the beginning where he created this idea of introvert and how it got twisted, because our society appreciates extroverts, but that is our society. There's other cultures that appreciate introverted people more, usually Asian cultures. Yeah. So
introverts are real thinkers. They're deep thinkers, and they're careful. They don't make rash judgments necessarily. So there's really important qualities to having introverts in your company, in your family, in your group. They're extremely valuable, but they're not valued by our society, by Western, everybody loves a stage society, and everybody wants to be a superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. So it's really important, I think, for parents to identify. She has a test for kids, too, and a book that she wrote for how to deal with HSP kids. And I think that if you have a child that you think is too shy or introverted, that you need to read the book and understand your child, because they're different. They experience the world differently. So if you're not HSP and you think you have an HSP kid or somebody else in your family, just pass it on. I think it's probably the most important thing you could do to help that kid's life. I wish my parents had had it.
Yeah, my husband was an introvert, and my child is just like both of us. Can be introverted, can be extroverted. It depends on the moods, what they feel like, and that's how I am too. Like, I can be a real introvert and the hermit, and I can be a real extrovert and do a show with Shane every Saturday Night Live. You know what I mean? I can play both.
Yeah.
Depending on my mood.
I would love for you to take that test and see what your result is on the test, because I think that you're probably like just on the borderline of being HSP, and I think you're an empath. I think you are discounting your ability. You read people. You really feel people.
Thank you. I used to be actually a reader. I used to do psychic readings, and I used to do tarot card readings, and I used to do angel card readings, and I used to do color reading, aura reading, and I did it for fun, but I don't consider myself an empath because I have a thick skin, and I don't feel people's pain. I want to relieve their pain, but I don't feel sensitive like empaths often do. They often feel wounded. somehow by people's criticism and wounded by a tough, hard world. And I've got a really thick skin, and I don't feel wounded, So then I think I'm not an empath, although I can read people,
Yeah, you might have just better control over a gift too, because I know it can be difficult for a lot of people from what they say.
Yeah, I don't find it difficult. I find it interesting.
No, I think that you are at least partly an empath, but I think you have a really strong sense of yourself that you developed. Like you said, you lost your fear. I don't know what you're like.
Yeah, dying helps. When you die and you're resuscitated, that helps to lose your fear, for sure.
Yeah. It's like you got to peek behind the veil. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you feel? I'm sorry. Do you feel like there's any change in your personality pre and post that event?
Yes, pre that event, I was really shy and an introvert, but interested in alien psychic abilities, psychic phenomenon, because I could read auras since I was 12, and my mom said that's okay. That's not a bad thing. Don't worry about it. But after my death experience, I was outgoing and the group, afraid of nothing and willing to take the helm if a group needed somebody to get things kicked off and started. I was no longer afraid. I became an extrovert. So I went from introvert, interested in metaphysics, to extrovert, interested in metaphysics.
That is so interesting. So it did. You probably are an empath, and what you're thinking that you should be experiencing is just the experience of other people who haven't had your experience. That's too many experiences, but I don't know how to.
No, I get it. Yeah. Now, to be honest, guys, on the bad side, okay, I'm not just saying this, but I am arrogant, and I've tamed my arrogance. I fell out of love with humanity, and I have fallen back in love with humanity. I, at one time, considered myself superior to humanity because I couldn't possibly consider harming another thing. And I thought, well, if humanity can harm itself and harm animals, then they're, like, unevolved, on the scale of evolution is equated to how much respect you give life. So I've tamed all that. I'm back in the saddle of, I didn't want to be born again here. I didn't want reincarnation to bring me back here. I wanted to go somewhere better, where there was a better version of humanity. And now I've gotten over all of that, and I'm not as arrogant, and I'm not as hateful or spiteful of humanity. So I have gone through a lot. I've gone through the dark night of the soul that we all go through, and I came out of it a better, more loving person with more patience. And I don't hate humanity anymore, and I don't think I'm the best thing since sliced bread. I know that I am just part of it.
I think you are.
And, that gets back to that whole balance I was talking about between, taking up the role of being the star in your own life that you're starring in, and we really should, but at the same time, not to let it get away from you to where you feel, superior and stuff. It's a balance.
Yeah,
like
and now I just want to be the helper in everybody else's life that's not the star, but that actually has an impact and helps others to be strong, or helps others to see their power, their beauty, or their sovereignty, or their gifts. And then I can say, wow, I really accomplished something down there. Because I don't think you accomplish anything if you're always in the spotlight. You walk away and you've got nothing. You got nothing but burns from the spotlight, And if you help other people achieve, you walk away and go, wow, that really meant something. And that's the difference. It's that back seat now, the back seat driver instead of the front seat driver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying for sure.
You've done that. You switched from frontman on the stage, guitar, singing his own songs, to running a channel that is all about community, and all about your guests, and all about the people who come on. You're the, and you must feel really good when you're done. When you're done with a week, it must feel like you've accomplished loads more than when you were standing in the spotlight.
Yeah. Especially since I had a 3D job at the time, so that never paid the bills. That was just more work on the weekends, actually.
And Ronnie, are you a therapist? I always think that you're a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that you do therapy.
No, I never got past my bachelor's degree. Right when I was, I finished my degree, and then my sister passed away, and I was afraid to continue because I would have had to go into debt to continue my education, and you have to have at least a master's degree, and they're changing it to where you're going to have a PhD. So I would have had to go to 6 more years of college, and I was like, I can't afford it. I can't put that burden onto my husband where I'm creating debt and he's, working just to pay the bills. So I just couldn't do it. And I really wanted to, but now I'm glad I didn't, because I don't approve of the psychology community as a science, because
the mainstream.
They allowed the torture in Gitmo. They turned their backs and allowed it to happen instead of stopping it and saying,
wait a minute, this is unethical. Me in your comments as being naturally a counselor, naturally a psychoanalyst, naturally. I did a half a degree, believe it or not. I did a half a bachelor's in psychology and a full bachelor's in journalism, because back in the day, in the 80s, you could do a degree and a half. It was called a minor and a major. And my favorite guy was Carl Jung, and you quote him all the time because he seemed to have some metaphysical, spirituality to his psychology, whereas Freud was just so messed up, and just projecting his messed up mind onto the whole world.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel the exact same way. I don't know if you want me to change the subject, I will. But the whole idea of penis envy for women don't. The only thing that we envy is that you can go standing up and you don't have to go through a whole ordeal of lifting and pulling things up and down and backwards. So it's a convenience thing for you guys that we do appreciate, it would be nice to have. But the envy came from the male position in society. Not, I think women envied men being able to do whatever they wanted back then, that it was a different world. So his whole idea was...
the age of Freud.
Freud was... he was a nut. He was
absolutely. They found out that he was psychologically, sexually abused as a child by his nanny or one of his nurses as a child. So he came up with some weird theories that Western society, ran society by. And, he had some pretty scary, sad theories. But I think we've moved beyond that. I think society really doesn't embrace Freud anymore. They're more Jungian and more open to the archetypes, the hero, the hero's journey, and all of those things. And he came up with the subconscious and mind connecting, the collective mind, way before his time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was amazing, truly amazing. He was like the Einstein of understanding human psychology to me.
April wants to know why she didn't know about penis envy. I learned about it in the 80s in psych classes, that women were envious, according to Freud. They just wanted to be men. Women just want to be men, and it's sad because they can't. They can't be.
Yeah. No, I'm perfectly happy being a female. I just don't like all of the garbage that society has put up as being required. I don't wear dresses, don't like them, never did. Actually, I was at a playground. I was 5 years old, and it was after church, so of course all the little girls, we were wearing our dresses. We're playing on the swings. I jumped off the swing, and my dress flew up over my head. And everybody was like, oh, we saw your underwear, we saw your underwear.
Your underwear.
And I was like, yeah. So I was horrified, and I was like, I'm never wearing a dress again because I can't do what I want to do. So, you know, here's the clothing restriction. You can't act like you need or want to act because you have to wear the thing that society says makes you a woman or a girl, you know? So it's like, no, that's not what makes me a girl, but I want to play. So I'm not going to wear a dress so I can play.
We've moved on into a better society where guys can wear dresses and girls can wear trousers, and it's no big deal. But then when I say that, some people get upset with, like, you metaphysicians are gender bending. And I'm like, no, I didn't mean it that way. I just meant we're free to express ourselves no matter which sex we are, you know? Because I was always accused of being masculine female because I climbed trees and I built forts with the boys. And, like, Jane and I were joking on a few shows that when I was just one, everybody called me bro and dude, you know? And there's other people that I've met in this chat tonight that we thought they were men too because their comments were stronger, like more masculine. But now we're allowed to be whoever we are. We just can be our authentic selves, you know? And if a guy wants to cry, that's great. I'll give him cuddles. And if a girl wants to climb a tree, that's great too. You know, we're just far more, we're coming, like, what did you say, Shane? Our right brain and left brains are starting to communicate back and forth now.
Yeah, I think that's the rainbow bridge they talk about. Yeah. Yeah, merging the hemispheres.
Awesome.
Getting more of a balance, because it's been completely out of whack for as long as, you know, assuming our history is even right, as long as we've had recorded history, it's been more dominated by the male, you know.
Well, isn't that...
I feel sorry for the males who have to go out and kill to be manly. You know, it's harder being a man than being a woman who was considered in the past, thousands of years ago, a piece of property. But it'd be much harder being the man who has to go out there who doesn't want to kill, but has to kill to be part of the team, you know, and I'm talking, you know, way back.
The boys club, yeah. Well, that still exists, though. That's one thing I found at work. Was I always worked jobs that were very male-dominated, so I got to really observe inter-male interaction and culture. And I'm sorry, but you men create your own situation. You know, you have a set of rules that you've just accepted, that this is the rules that we have to follow to be men. And it's changing now. I think men your age and men who are older than me are very, very different. And I'm 56, so the men who are older than me, I've always found have been very different from younger men, and it is you're much more interested in being part of your family than older men were. Older men, it was the rule that, you know, I'm the breadwinner. And that's all I do. I don't emotionally get involved in this family group. You know, you go talk to your mother about that. You know.
Yeah, I don't change diapers. I don't cook dinner. I don't clean houses, and I don't take care of skin knees. Yeah, that's gone. That's the older generation.
Well, I think there's like a huge distinction now that I see happening. At least in my life, it's like, you know, if you have to step up and be the alpha male to protect your kids or your wife, you know, it's still like a natural thing. But whenever it's like defending your own honor, like I was just saying when I cut the guy off, typically you just both get mad at each other, even if it is your fault. You know what I mean? You just get mad, you know, that he got mad and that he wasn't okay with you making a little mistake, you know, and so yeah, or like a defending your malehood or something in public. So I think it's like a defending someone else or defending yourself or your manliness, if you will. I think there's a distinction being made there, at least in my life.
Yeah, so we still have some way to go. But I do have to answer someone on email who's been listening to my videos, and he asked an honest question. I feel like you metaphysical people are trying to gender bend us into one sex. And I'm like, I have to think about that, because Saturday is my answer emails day for the shows. And I have to think, how do I respond to that in a kind way without, you know, saying, yeah, of course we are, because we are all human and we are all alive. And God is male and female, so we are all male and female. And if you believe in reincarnation, all you men have been women before, and all you women have been men before, and all the races, and in all the parts of the world. But, you know, and I don't know how to explain that to him so it sounds okay, and not like we're trying to take our children and not allow them to be men, not allow them to be women the way media is doing for, like, population control. You know, that way, you know, they're encouraging same-sex relationships instead of just allowing them to occur naturally. It's actually encouraged and promoted. So I get what he's saying, you know, so I'm like, I have to be careful with how I respond to that. So I'm authentic in my response, but, you know, not brutal. You know, I don't know. It's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Well, it's like, you know, consider eyesight. You know, everybody, I wear glasses. I can't see anything 2 feet away from me. But I can, you know, I'm 56 years old and I don't need reading glasses. But, you know, you have other people who had perfect vision and now they need reading glasses. And you have people who can see an eagle, you know, that's just a dot in the sky, and they can say, oh, that's an eagle because they can see it. And, you know, so you have a range of being physical. Nothing that we are is identical, you know?
So I just might let you answer that one. You did it so well. I'm going to start sending my my questions to you, Ronnie.
No, it's just something I've seen a lot. You know, there's the big men's movement and stuff, and I can understand. You know,
some men feel emasculated. They're like, women are trying to do away with us, and we'll no longer have a role in society, and we're not needed, and we're considered bad and aggressive, and they feel really attacked. And I'm like, well, I don't feel that way about men. I do about patriarchal society and the church being anti-female, but not about men. I love men, you know. Men are great.
Yeah.
But I don't want a church that says only a man can talk to God and only a man can counsel you on spiritual matters. You know, that's what I'm rejecting, not men.
Definitely,
Yeah. Well, see, that's a beautiful thing to say. I think you answered your own question. Because it is. You know, you have to, it's about allowing everybody to be what they are and who they are without dictating it. And yes, the media is pushing an agenda. And yes, you know, there are groups of women who actually do hate men. And there are groups of men who actually hate women. So, you know, you can't, the way we think is we classify things. We just, you know, it's automatic. We
categorize.
That's how we make our memories. Categorize. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And so we build pictures, and then we find what's different from the picture, and we find what's the same as the picture. And the things that are different can be scary to us, and especially when it's about sexuality. You know, people are still pretty backwards in the United States. You know, we're very Victorian about sexuality. So if you feel threatened by it, then you're going to become reactive. And there are groups that are very openly hostile and groups that are very openly reacting and, you know, backlashing about it. So it's natural to question what you're interacting with. And so
I think
can't
if
be
they
blamed
joined our group
for wondering it.
I think if they joined us, they would see that we're not judging them, compartmentalizing them. You know what I mean? They'd have to really listen to what our community says and how we interact respectfully with each other in the chat, both men and women. And none of us feel threatened by each other, or there's no sexism or ageism. I just don't think they're hearing. I think they hear about the men becoming comfortable with their feminine sides and traits and women becoming comfortable with their masculine traits, and they see that as gender bending. So I get what he's saying. He's just not been in the group long enough to see where everybody's really coming from, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. But it is part of the balancing that's happening. And somebody had said, they mentioned, I can't remember where I saw it or heard it, or if it was one of you guys or in the chat room, but the change in our sign of where the Earth is, you know, that whole age of Aquarius thing, that we went from Pisces. Was it you? I keep thinking it was Eileen. Yes.
Yeah,
to
I
me,
think it was
that
last
was
week
like
we were talking
so
about going from Pisces to Aquarius.
Yeah, that was so huge to me. It was like, it finally made sense. I never understood it before that. And I was like, wow, that is just so amazing. So I wanted you to talk some more about that.
Thank you. Well, we've got tomorrow. We can talk about it. We don't set, Shane and I don't like decide on topics. We just talk. But I kind of wanted to talk about karma as well, because people are talking to me about karma as a punishment, and it's not a punishment. It's just pure cause and effect, you know. So, yeah, you know, we can talk more about the changing of the age into the Aquarian and what that means for humanity to go from Pisces to Aquarian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just that it was in the fish, too. The whole Christian symbol with the fish.
Yeah.
And the Pisces fish sign. And now we're moving up. People, it's really interesting. I think I talked about this before, but I'll say it again, that I was talking to somebody, and she said something, and I was like, oh, you must be a Christian. And she's like, well, you know, yeah, I'm a Christian. But she was kind of wavering, and so I prodded her a little bit more to get her to talk more. And it turns out that she considers herself a spiritual person who still believes Christianity, but that is getting away from the church. So I really think that the change is not giving up the beliefs of Jesus and what he stood for and taught, and even, you know, the people who believe that you have to go through him to reach heaven, which I don't believe that, but that people are pulling away from that control mechanism of the church and the pastor and, you know, that mechanized religion, and going more for spirituality. So I see that so often. If you get people to start talking, that they actually already believe what you believe, even if they don't realize that they do.
Right, they just haven't really dropped they haven't dropped the label yet, really. Is what and I find that's hard to do that, because, you know, if your parents were like they raised you Christian, then they died, and you just have that sense about like not really wanting to let them down or let their legacy die, or something along those lines, maybe. So it's sort of just kind of a psychological thing, don't you think?
Yeah,
I do.
Like, yeah, we have more common ground than we even realize when you compare teachings of God, and you're speaking with a Muslim and somebody who's Hindu and somebody who's Chinese. You find that there's so much more common ground than you realize that isn't expressed through the dogma of the church, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had a kind of a revelation today, or earlier. I don't know what I was thinking about, but it just dawned on me that Christianity, the whole revelation thing, is all predicated on having everybody on earth know the word of Jesus, right? That's am I interpreting that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think you are.
Yeah.
Just like the Quran says, everybody must know the words of
Muhammad. Once it reaches,
he was channeling Gabriel. Yeah.
Well, unless we
that's
stop
actually
children,
I'm
it's
sorry.
never going to happen.
That's the whole. Isn't that the scripture about the gospel must first be preached among all nations, and now it's been developed into published among all nations? Did you guys know?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's published now. It says published instead of preached.
That's like the Mandela effect.
Yeah, you just totally reminded me of that one, because that one was like, what? There was no way it was published.
No.
Yeah, there was no publishing when the Bible was written.
Yeah, it's so funny to me, because it's like it's been updated to, because you'll say that publish a web page, you know what I mean? You'll just use that word. It's more common terminology now than it was then, for sure, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely a Mandela effect if you see published in there. And I was just talking to somebody today, and this is going to sound like, not good for some people to hear, but a lot of the Middle Eastern religions, they're all based on the common myths of the Sumerian clay tablets. You know, there's a Savior in there, there's a Moses in there, there's an Adam in there, there's an Eve in there, and they predate
A
the
flood
Talmud
story.
and Torah.
Yeah.
You know them because I know you've read the tablets.
Yeah, there's a
And,
lot of
you know,
parallels there. Yeah, definitely.
lots of parallels. And Christianity is based on Judaism, which is based on the Talmud and the Torah, which is based on the Babylonian tales of mythology, which is based on who knows what. You know, we don't know where Mesopotamians got their stories from, but those flood stories turned up all over the world, in all parts of the world, in all religions at about the same time. And Islam is based on that as well. It's based on the same roots. They all have the same roots. And the Western world has carried over the Middle Eastern, Abrahamic, Mesopotamian, Babylonian religious myths.
Mm-hmm.
And we've dominated the world with them because we're also the financial dominators and the government and military dominators. And when you start going into Hinduism and Buddhism and Confucianism and Taoism, you start to get exposed to a totally different religious thought process. And you realize that what we're thinking here in the West is extremely Middle Eastern. Nothing wrong with the Middle East. You know, I'm not putting them down because I grew up there. But they were written in a time when there were small bands of nomadic tribes.
Yeah.
Literally, if you didn't grab what the tribe next to you had, they would come and grab yours. This is when these myths were actually written. It was a hostile world, and it was very much a dog-eat-dog world. And that message is still in a lot of the Abrahamic books, including the Bible, including the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've read them both cover to cover. So, you know, I'm not just making things up. And I can see why they would have written this 2,000 years ago, living in a desert where, you know, your chances of survival were not even 50-50.
Yeah, I always felt like that too. It had to be harsh because life was harsh. It had to fit the life that they lived, their reality.
Yeah,
Even the beets
that's why
that
Jesus
they eat were based on lack of refrigeration. Because if you ate pork in the Middle East without refrigeration, you probably would die of trichinosis much quicker than if you ate goat or lamb.
Yep. Yeah. I absolutely believe that it was totally wrapped up in the culture of the time. So, yeah, I see a lot of influence in the writing that must have come out of the culture. So,
and maybe
I
we're just
believe
growing
that.
out of the cultural dogma, but we want to honor and keep the truth, the beauty, the message, the gifts that are in the Bible or in the Quran. Maybe that's what we want to carry forward, but without all the societal dogma that was added to it, like, you know, women not being able to be priests, not being worthy of communicating to God for the brethren, for the flock, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm glad to see
And
that's
isn't it
phasing
funny?
away. But it's wild that there's parts of the earth that, you know, still treat women like, you know, like, I don't know, like the first century or something in the Western culture. They're really far back.
Yeah, I grew up in a lot of those areas, and I learned something really, really interesting, like growing up in Cairo, that women were classified after the animals. The animals that you owned got better care because they provided your living, whether it was a camel or a donkey. And then your children were taken care of next. And it even included, like, how they could walk, who would walk behind each other, and who would eat first, and all kinds of traditions like that. So then your children, because that was your future, when you could no longer work, your children would work in your place and honor you and take care of you. And then your wife, right, came up last. But inside the homes and the families, the women couldn't go out. Some of the women couldn't go out on their own unless they were escorted by a male family member. And some of them couldn't drive, although they could drive there in general, not like Saudi Arabia, which just started letting women drive last year. And some of them could work, but not all of them, right? And in the home, they were king, queen, prince, and princess. That was their domain. Whatever the mother or the grandmother, the eldest woman in the house said was law. She ruled the roost completely. And their husbands would just go, okay, I'm in your domain. Whatever you say, I'm going to go with it. Your management. I'm not going to challenge it. But outside the home, the males in Cairo would be more dominant and in charge. But inside the home, it was the eldest female. It was the mother personality, the grandmother.
Matriarchal in the house, because that was her
matriarchal in the house.
Her responsibility.
And completely powerful. I mean, if they said you cannot marry this person, then that child couldn't marry that person. They had 100% power in the home over the family.
That's strange.
Yeah. Of course, you were talking 70s and 80s, so I hope I'm not offending anybody who says, it's not like that. We've come a long way, baby, I don't
know. Yeah, I think things are getting better, but it's taken a while, it seems, for some parts of the planet.
Yeah, cultural norms, though, are the hardest to overcome, because the biggest cruelty that you can do to somebody is social shunning. And it is so powerful because we're social. That's what we are. Even us introverts have a social circle. So, social shunning is very, very powerful. And when you break cultural norms and become that outcast in society, it is painful. So people avoid it. They don't want to be that person who's outcast.
They want to fit in.
Yeah, we all want to fit in. We want our groups. And that's why I think this is so powerful, because it's a place where we fit in. And, we can be ourselves. So thank you.
We can be our authentic self.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, family out there. Love you guys so much. Love this home.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for creating it, Shane.
Oh, no, I'm honored that you guys want to come hang out with the outcasts. And it's like we're all outcasts here. So.
You're just such a wonderful, warm personality that when you started up the show, I was like, yeah, I'm going to just go there. I feel safe there. And then I met Jose, and then I met Go-Kart and Biker Babe and all the early birds to your show, and I felt like, I really like these people. I don't have to worry about what I say, what my opinions are, how odd I am. It was like, it was okay. And nobody really agrees with everybody on the chat, but that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine to have different views about stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we were like, okay, well, I don't agree with that, but yeah, I think that's really cool. Maybe I'll think about that. Maybe there's something in it that I need to think about. And if I only surrounded myself with people who thought exactly like me, I would never grow. I'd never learn anything. So it's really good for me to be exposed to other people's religious beliefs,
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was one of the premises of
beliefs. Yeah.
Putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing what it would take to believe like they believe on any particular issue.
And societal beliefs, and what else do we share? Everything, really. Quantum beliefs,
I'm really, really curious of how much, because our group is very Western. And so I'm really curious how this kind of experience is happening to other cultures. I wish that more cross-cultural people would drop in and say, oh yeah, we're doing this in some Placeistan.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't see a lot of that, Like a lot of the other shows are dealing more with trolls. I'm not inviting them to our shows, but we don't have to deal with a lot of trolls or obnoxious people who start yelling at us because we don't believe what they believe. We seem to be pretty protected, and, occasionally a troll will drop in, but not very often.
No, I think a lot of people just kind of leave if they feel like they're not resonating. Most of the higher vibe people, instead of making a big ruckus, you just might not see them around as much or something. That's sort of what I notice. People quietly move in and out. And then there's a lot of lurkers.
Yeah, but
people
there's not a lot of, there's no problems in the chat rooms because everybody knows everybody. We're not a target, which is nice.
Yeah. That's sort of one of the reasons why I try to stay away from some of the hot button topics. Seems like if you hit a trend about something, it's like you can get in with where you're getting all these people that it's like, who are all these people and why are they so rude and stuff, Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd appreciate it, Ronnie, if you'd drop a link to that test again that you mentioned, because I'm not sure what it was, but somebody in the chat took it.
I pasted the link in there. I'll do it again here.
hsperson.com, I think it was.
Yep.
I haven't looked at
it. So
H
for Henry, S for Freddy, person.
No, S as in like HS, like high school.
Sensitive.
Oh yeah.
Highly sensitive person.
I got it.
HS. Yeah.
Yeah, person.com, and I just pasted the link in there. And then it looks like there's a tab that says self-tests on the second green column down. And are you highly sensitive? Is your child highly sensitive? High sensation, seeking test. So there's 3 different ones to take. I'll have to check it out after the show.
I don't want to hog your whole night here, if you want to chat with others.
Oh, no, that's totally cool. Yeah, let's see. Oh, well, we had a 3.
We need some more trigger stories for Eileen.
Yeah.
You guys got me over my trigger today. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Shane.
No problem. Anybody else have a trigger story to share? Yeah, just call in. Let me see here. Yeah, we had somebody else, but they dropped off. I was going to have them hop in here with us.
I think Todd was going to call in. He said early in the show that he wanted to be second, but he didn't know that first call-in would be 2.5 hours. We are hogs, Ronnie. We are show hogs.
Well, he never did call in, so.
Okay.
Well, come on, people, call in. We're wearing out our phones.
Only if you want to. You don't have to, but I want to go back and read the chat because I can't talk and read the chat at the same time. Then the words in the chat would come out of my mouth. That's how I am, if I hear something. You did that, Shane, the other day. I said a word, and the next thing I know, he was typing it on the screen.
Yeah, that's funny. That happens to me a lot. I have to catch myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm mixing up conversations here.
Well, I had another
April has a trigger story about a bug. What's your trigger story,
in, April?
Are you going to call in and tell us about your bug? How could a bug trigger you? It must have been pretty big and pretty scary in a place you didn't want to see it.
Those palomino bugs they have down your way?
Don't know. Are they?
Palmetto.
Palmetto. Oh my God.
Palmetto?
Ronnie, did you have soft palmetto bugs?
Oh, we had palmetto bugs and the giant banana spiders. Yeah, we had them.
Yep.
Yeah, if you get one of those running through the woods and you're wrapped in a spider web.
Yeah, I'm down with Tampa, Florida, and I'm telling you, we're in Jurassic Park down here when it comes to bugs. So, April, I want to hear your bug story because you got to come and live with the palm trees to understand bugs. You
can hear them eating. Yeah, when when the palm trees bloom, you can hear the bugs up there munching.
Oh,
there's so many of them. Yeah, it's crazy.
And then
like, what's that sound?
That's biblical. We have cane toads, and in mating season when the babies are born, we have millions of cane toads. Okay, maybe thousands, but my lake is really small, and everywhere you look, there's a different size cane toad hopping, and they're really ugly and bubbly. But I like toads anyway. Except if a dog licks them, they die. If a dog puts the cane toad in their mouth, they get poisoned because their skin is so poisoned. So I'm not fond of their deadly skin, or the sheer number of them, and the sound of them. Like you'd be trying to sleep, and the air from outside, even with air conditioning on, is croaking all night long. It's not ribbit, it croaks.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Kind of like a horror movie.
Well, we had the tree frogs. We had, there was one year, it was so loud that it was just unbelievable. It was like,
we
oh
have
my
those.
God.
They jump on me. Lizards and tree frogs will jump on me during their season when they have loads of tree frogs everywhere. They're super cute and they're super sticky, like a child's toy that you would throw against a wall, right? They're like super sticky.
Yeah.
And at first when they land on you, it's kind of freaky the way they feel. So you start to scream and jump around and they don't fall off very easily. But then you just get kind of used to it and you feel like it's some kind of a frog blessing if one jumps on you, you know?
I've been frog blessed. Oh, I had no idea.
They're kind of cute, though. They have really big eyes and really see-through skin. And we've got a lot of those geckos that change colors. And they painted our building some measly, mousy, not yellow, not mauve or mauve, not gray. So our geckos are the most disgusting color ever, and you can still spot them. But they're taking on the color of the building, and they're all over the place.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I love those. I'm going to really miss them here. That's one I actually just have always been really, really fond of the little lizards.
Anybody in the? I was going to say, anybody in the chat to hit *2 if you want to raise your hand and join the conversation. We might have a trigger story to add in. There we go, 303. Who's joining in from 303?
That's Colorado.
Colorado?
I think so, yeah, Denver.
Oh, okay. Who's calling in?
Vicky.
Hey, Vicky, how's it going?
Pretty good. I had something to offer on the masculine and the feminine, the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are, I think we might have fallen to earth from or been divided from more than maybe once. We might have a few of ourselves here, even beside us.
Mm-hmm.
A man could be having, a sacred masculine man could be having more than one sacred masculine experience in two different bodies.
So you're saying that where people divide off into subsouls? I've heard of stuff like that before.
Yeah. I kind of heard about this through, what is his name? David Wilcox. He kind of talked about it, and I don't buy a lot of what he says, but some that I do, based on experience that I've had. But if you look at the book of Matthew, chapter 19, it explains how we hardened our hearts and we lost our connection to our other half. And I think through subsequent incarnations, we've gotten further away from our other part or parts, and we're experiencing maybe multiple lives even in this life.
That's interesting.
Which is odd to think about. And some men have a more feminine side to them than other men that have a more masculine side. And so, and then you have hermaphrodites who have both sexual organs, sex organs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it could also be that someone who is more of the masculine side is actually living inside of a feminine body, but is coming across very masculine because really that is the sacred masculine caught up in a feminine body, to have a feminine experience, to maybe be able to be childbearing. It's the only way a sacred masculine could have a child is to inhabit the body of a woman. But still, that person would have a more masculine side to them. And, you know, if they're in a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
When you read the book
I
of
think that's
Matthew,
interesting, Vicki, because I attended one of David Wilcock's conferences, which is really cool. If you ever get a chance, go. I know Sherry Overprotected loves him. And I know I don't agree with everything he says, but he does a really fascinating 2 or 3 day conference. And a lot of people think there's this soul, oversoul, that can fragment down onto Earth or another planet with 10,000 souls or 1,000,000 souls from the same oversoul, which means they go back up with their information and share it with the group. So that would make you related to, like, being the same person with 10,000 or 1,000,000 people on Earth. But what you're saying is more interesting because you're saying just a person on Earth as a fragment of God or soul or spirit can have multiple Earth experiences right now, right here, and not be aware of their fragment of themselves, maybe having a male life in China while I'm having a female life in America. Is that what? Am I right? Is that what you're saying?
or it could even be in the same town.
Oh my God!
In the same family.
Is that what people are calling twin flames? And how is that different from soulmate? I've never understood all of that.
Okay, soulmates. Okay, and I learned something new from an oversoul that came in, Michael, and he was explaining, and he definitely is a man, but I sense a more feminine man. And but he was explaining to me how he's an oversoul, and he's died several times, and he's come back into his body that he calls Michael, but he doesn't relate to Michael's kids and Michael's wife because, you know, but he's fragmented, but he does know that he's Michael, but he's the oversoul of Michael. So it's a strange thing, but he taught me about the twin ray. So there's twin ray, that's a possibility, and then the twin flames, and then the soulmates. So I think what the twin ray would be is, you know, Mother, Father, God, and then the twin flames being aspects of Mother, Father, God, and then the soulmates would be aspects of the twin flames.
That's interesting. Cause did anybody here read the Theosophists by any chance? Because the Theosophists are all about the twin rays, the 7 rays and the 7 rays within the 7 rays. Yeah, you read that, Shane?
Yeah, so, yeah, that's funny that you brought that up because I was sitting here thinking, wait, that's the one, I thought it was actually 9. Was it not 9? Like each soul is like 9 fragments? Maybe it was 7.
Actually, in Theosophists, like Alice Bailey and Madame Blavatsky, Rudolf Steiner, it's 7. But others are writing about the 9.
Oh, no, so you know what? I am thinking of a different thing.
Okay.
7 kings, 7 crowns
yeah,
on that dragon's head.
Some do 7, some do 9, and some do 11, and some do 109 or 108. I can't remember the Hindu, and you know, but yeah, the different rays, being on a different ray, like you take a heart chakra ray and a heart chakra color, and somebody might be on the green ray. But within the ray, there are 7 layers from red to, you know, the highest level, and you might be a different, each color has an expression. Like one will be a teacher, that's the blue ray usually. One will be a healer, that's the green ray. You know, it gets pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And you can be, like a green person on a blue ray. So you'll bring heart energy from the green, from the love, into teaching and media through blue, which is communication. It gets very complicated.
I wanted to bring April into the April into the conversation. Are you here, April?
Hey, April. I'm here, but I don't think my bugs stories kind of fit in.
Your bug story. Are you kidding me?
Well, I can totally wait, and I'm totally enjoying this listening. And maybe when this conversation is done, I'll tell you about the bug. I don't want to blow.
You mean we gotta wait? We gotta go to bed tonight wondering what your bug story is?
All right, it'll be quick.
No, you gotta share it because you never know how it's gonna fit.
Yeah. All right. It's kind of stinky, but I'll tell you about it. So, it is hilarious, and I can't believe I got triggered, and I even said a curse word, which I have noticed I've been doing that ever since I become a vegetarian, no alcohol, all these other things. Now I flip in curse words, so I guess no one can be perfect, right? So I'm preparing supper, and now that I'm a vegetarian, I put a lot more work and thought into it to make sure that I'm getting the proper amount of protein and all the other good stuff that goes along with that. And I'm just having a good old time. Well, in this area we call them stink bugs, but I don't know what their proper name is, but they're like, they're very, I hate to talk bad about a bug, but they're ugly. They're these ugly little bugs that fly around, and you can't send them to the light because they let off this horrible odor. So you gotta catch them and throw them outside. And so I'm just cooking and everything, and I see this bug, and I'm like, oh, you are a nasty ass ugly bug. That's what I said to it. I opened up my oven door to pull out my beautiful faux wing cauliflower that I worked so hard on, and my faux burger mushroom, right? And this freaking stink bug flies in the oven and fries. It dies and lets off this horrible odor that gets all over the food. I couldn't eat it.
Instant karma.
No.
That stink bug came from Japan, and it's in Georgia, Alabama, and it's made its way down to Florida.
Yeah, Virginia, I can testify they're here.
And it goes down to Naples all the way from Georgia and Alabama, and it got in my eye, April, and it let off its stink bomb in my eye, which feels like fire. So I'm running around Whole Foods going, water, somebody put water in my eye. And I'm crying because it's so painful. And I sit down on the floor, and they're like, these two old ladies walk up to me and go, what can we do for you? Should we call an ambulance? And I'm like, no, pour some water in my eye. It's burning. It's on fire. And they don't want to because they think they're going to, get me wet. And so I go get a manager, and a manager comes out, and I'm sitting down outside in front of Whole Foods. How embarrassing is that, right? And I'm like, give me the bottle, and I drench my eye with it and drive to the fake emergency room. What's that called? Urgent care. And they charged me $500 to open up my eyelid and get a tweezers and take the stink bug out. And they're like, you'll be fine. Just go home. And I'm like, what about the fire? What about the burning? And they're like, no, it'll go away. Don't worry about it.
See, Eileen, you are the trigger whisperer, because now how could I have been triggered over
all I'm saying is wear sunglasses. Do not walk around the States without sunglasses on, because you'll get a stink bug in your eye, and it's like it kills your eyes. That's all I can say is you cannot walk, you cannot talk, you cannot drive.
That is funny and horrible at the same time. So what
my life is funny and horrible
the metaphysical meaning of a stink bug? What did the stink bug have to tell me? Don't call me a nasty ass.
What does it mean when it's a bad smell? It's a bad smell. And the poor workers who work out in the citrus fields, they have to deal with them all the time now. So it's hard. Why would God make a stink bug? It does make you question whether there is a God and how smart God is. If God made a stink bug, it's like, okay.
Or he just has a sense of humor.
Yeah, I God has a sense of humor. After that. And I felt bad. When it died, I did feel bad. I was upset about dinner, but I thought, oh my gosh. That, it was like a suicide bomber. It's like, yeah.
Okay, April, get this.
I
don't kill bugs.
I was really upset
I don't kill bugs. Why would a stink bug land in my eye and just burn my eyeball out like that? I don't kill bugs. What did I do to deserve that treatment from a bug?
I know, because I think they're an alien, and what would you, like, they're this little bot, and they're spying on us. That's what it is.
So I am an alien.
Awesome.
Stink bug in my eyeball?
It was following you around.
They like, you think we like you, Eileen. You think that you're one of our favorites, but we're putting a stink bug down in your eye.
No, it was a drone from the dark side, you know what I mean? And they're like following us around.
Oh, God, maybe. Everything's possible, guys. Everything's possible.
I once killed a skink bug, and I didn't know it was a skink bug, and it was not a good thing.
Well, that goes back to control, though. You know, it's a daily reminder that we really don't control our environments. And, you know, our reaction to that can be fear and loathing and horror. And so it's changing your perspective on how you view these things that come into your life that you don't necessarily want or like. So that does tie right back in.
Very afraid of spiders. And I used to And I used to be very afraid of moths because they'd fly right at you and get in your hair.
Yeah.
But one day I was finishing my my house, putting baseboard up and sealing the floor after we put hardwood floors in, and I was caulking it so that, you know, that there would be no way spiders could get in. But there was my mom once said, spiders are more afraid of you than you are of them. And that's how she got over her fear of being afraid of spiders, because she realized they were more afraid of her. And then I started realizing the same thing, and I saw this spider freaking out when I was doing this caulking. And we had baseboard heat, and I took a pencil, and I don't know why there was a pencil by me, or whatever it was, I don't remember what it was, but I tapped on the floor to show the spider how to get down, and it went down where the baseboard heat was. It was like thankful that I showed it how to get where it needed to go. Because it was panicking. And I think that if they're visiting us and they're letting us know something, you know, I think it's a message. I think everything is a message here. Mm-hmm. And I killed a stink bug, and I don't know.
I killed them with my my tears. Killed that stink bug. You know, I didn't even want to kill it, and I killed it. And am I mad at bugs? No, I'm not mad at all bugs. I guess I could have been, but I'm not. Zero PC said he or she's been bitten by a brown recluse 3 times, and I've heard that's the worst spider to get bit by. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. 3 times.
3 times? That's a lot.
3 times. Yeah. So
we had them in Colorado in our garage, and we just left them alone. We didn't disturb them. We had brown recluses in Basalt, Colorado, and we just left them alone. They didn't come in the house.
Well, I had experienced a black widow, and when I was making hot sauce, and I brought it in with the onions. And here in Indiana, we do have them. I've never seen one. I've heard of them. I knew, you know. So I'm washing the onions off, and then I see this little, they're small, well, this one was anyways, and it was, the whole body, legs and all, was probably about the size of a pinky fingernail. And it was really this jet black, and I saw the red spot. And I thought, oh my gosh. So we put it in a little jar so we could see the bottom of it, see if we could see the hourglass shape. Sure enough, it was there, and it also had 3 dots on the back. And if you go on my Facebook page, you can see a picture of it. It's from, you know, I don't really post that often, so it's probably not too far down on my page. But yeah, so we kept it, and we're going to release it, and then the next day, what do you call it when they come out of their skin? You know,
Oh,
and they
yes,
because,
it molt.
yes,
That's called molted, yeah.
yes, because I'm like, oh my god, being who I am, I'm like, oh my gosh, another spider got in there and it sucked its blood out. It has no blood in it, but I'm like, no. That was my first thought. And then I'm like, no, it didn't. Oh my gosh, it was so cool to watch that. And so everybody on Facebook was like, call an exterminator. Don't release that thing. They're deadly. And, you know, all this. But I do feel like in honor of that, like of the Black Widow, like she wasn't doing anything, you know, wrong. So we released her. But that's what I named my hot sauce. It's actually called Black Widow. Because that was my first time making the hot sauce. And so I call it Black Widow.
It's weird
That's
that
funny.
spiders or bugs come to you when you're cooking.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, well,
so what's up with the stink bug? I should, you know.
Other traditions say they're lucky, and if they're in a kitchen, they're extra lucky because spiders like the warmth of a kitchen in a lot of wet, cold places. And you just don't kill spiders. You have to put them out because spiders are lucky, you know, in a lot of cultures like Australia and Thailand and places like that. You just do not kill spiders. And a lot of them are called lucky money spiders. So, you know, you have to pick them up by the web. You have to put them around your head 3 times and release them. That's a lucky money spider.
No, not in my world. I think we should change your perspective and not call it a stink bug. What can we call this bug? You know, it's not a stink bug. What is a good name that would be positive?
What, the cucumber, the sea cucumber that's a sea slug that looks like a cucumber?
The stink bug that did a suicide bombing in my oven. Like what, you know, instead of calling them stink bugs, maybe we could call them an aromatherapy bug.
There you go.
That's not an aromatherapy I would ever volunteer for. No.
Yeah, Rita, look up lucky money spider and the tradition of swinging one from its dangly one web, its little, its silk thread 3 times around your head, and then put it outside. I guess, you know, maybe if it stays on its thread and doesn't fall on your head, that's considered lucky, right? Because you're like swinging this thing over your head. So I don't know. I didn't make it up. It could even be in Madagascar or something like that. My dad worked all over the world, and he came home with the most amazing stories.
That's very cool.
Amazing.
Wow.
Even the insect world.
And Quartz Quantum says there's a sea pig out there. I found that there's an island off of the Bahamas where you can swim with sea pigs. Like somebody dropped them off on a deserted island, and they've taken to the water and the land, so people boat there to swim with the sea pigs. Have you guys heard of that? They're really cute.
What?
No, never heard of that.
Yes.
Not me.
I don't know if that's what Quartz Quantum's talking
Why
about.
would
So I'm like
someone
doing a
drop
joke
a
day. I'm
pig
reading the
off?
chat. Huh?
Why would somebody drop pigs off it on an island? What was the point?
Well, I don't know. Some people are saying, like, back in the pirating days, like, they would have pigs on their ships, and then the ships would crash, and then they'd swim to an island, and they just took over this island. They live in the wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have a barbecue. I don't know. You know, 100 years ago, they brought their 2 pigs with them. I have no clue. But I would love to swim with them because they're very cute, the babies.
Yeah. I can't really say that's on my to-do list, you know, swim with pigs. Maybe dolphins, but I'm open to it.
Yeah, Tammy heard of swimming pigs too. They're very cute. Go, use that horrible googly. I like DuckDuckGo. But if you Google swimming pigs Bahamas and then hit images, you'll see a whole bunch of people swimming with like baby piglets. It's so cute.
Oh,
that is so wild.
This must be a part of the 5th dimension that somebody did manifest us. That's hilarious. Okay, well, that was my trigger. So But it was in the moment. I was very upset though. All jokes aside, in the moment I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? Stinking blah blah bug coming in here, bombing my oven, and then now I can't eat dinner. So I threw a little tantrum. Not a bad one, because when I saw that it was dead, it brought me back to like what's really important.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want it to die. And I know that sounds silly, but in the moment, I guess just I'm not used to feeling anger or being upset, and then this poor little aromatherapy bug comes in and
You are so loving, so peaceful, April. You are just like,
well, I usually
I'm like, you are so lucky.
Well, I just usually, so when I do experience it, I guess it's like I've said before, like I fall hard in a sense. I know we're not really falling anywhere, but it just to feel that inside my body just feels so odd to me. So it was a true trigger, and I don't like that. I don't think anyone likes to be triggered, I guess. But yeah, and like I said, once I saw it, the poor little thing fried, and I had to pick it out. It was just so gross. I had to get a spoon. I threw the spoon away. See, now look. Now I literally. Well, I just thought about eating off that spoon someday, even if I want to. It's just freaky. I threw it away, and and I thought, how silly to let something like that bother me. Like, how many people probably don't have dinner tonight? And I obviously could have made more dinner. I was just had a lazy bone. I didn't want to recreate it.
Yeah,
again,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because you like making oatmeal. Now, oatmeal I could have made twice.
Where's your cooking show, Shane?
Yeah, I could have cooked the oatmeal.
And it was instant oatmeal.
You put in the microwave, that kind of cooking.
Yeah, I felt so guilty.
Was it banana flavored?
Yeah, it was. It was banana flavored. It's so funny.
I'm the same. My idea of cooking is scrambled eggs on toast, or beans on toast, or a pasta with a jarred sauce. I can do that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to cook. Speaking of the grocery store, when you were talking tonight about being triggered when we go out, I call it grocery trading. But Eileen, I emailed you because of the intention that was set with being an awakened source player, and I went into detail, but I don't know if anyone else has noticed when they're shopping that I just started noticing this. It's like anything that I want, because I've been watching a lot of shows on how to cook vegetarian and in the raw, because I have no idea how to do that. It's news for me. And everything that I want, if I don't have it at Kroger's that week, it's like the next week it'll be there. So
yeah, you're manifesting. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think it happens automatically as a source player, even those who are awakened and those who are not. If you're a source player, you're a manifester, like, even if you're not an awakened source player.
Yes, you gave us that word last week on the Power of Eight. And
yeah,
we did
source
your
player.
email recommendation because you were talking about the source players. I love that word.
Yeah.
Source players.
Yeah.
Catch Power of Eight last week because we did your email suggestion.
Yeah, I did. I caught it later, and and I was so thankful. So in that time period, so I didn't know if anyone else was experiencing, like how to win the game. So it was coming to me like, oh my gosh, like going to Kroger's is like, yeah, it's totally, I consider myself an awakened source player, which means it's just not about me. It's for the highest good of all humanity. I'm not just manifesting stuff just for me, So I thought, oh my gosh, like anything I want, it seems like I have. But at the same time, with the program of the matrix, when it comes to buying and selling, there's still that program that, demand, can increase the price. So if somebody's buying something that's in demand, the price goes up. So I noticed that not only I keep, like, all my favorite things, I'm getting them, but then I'll purchase them a couple times. And this is something that I just began to notice this week, is like, why do the prices increase? Like, I fell in love with this organic mustache pizza. I call it mustache pizza because the guy has a mustache base on the front, but anyways. And the price increased like by $3 in a month. Like, I would go in and get it.
Wow.
Right. So then I thought, wait. And I would mention
that's
to my
anti-manifestation. That's like increasing the price of the things you love.
It's not really, because if you think about it, it's the program of the matrix, okay? There's price and demand, okay? That's the program. So as an awakened source player, you're aware of how the program works. You're like, oh, well, that's just part of the program. I'm purchasing this often. They see it, blah, blah, blah. They're going to increase the price or whatever. So then now my test, which I haven't done yet, but I want to put it to the test and write a list, a grocery list like we always do. I call it scribing now. As an awakened source player, I'm scribing what I want. So I'm going to scribe my list out, but I'm going to manifest or put in that program for it to be on sale, or that I can at least get coupons for it. So there shouldn't be any reason why that couldn't happen, right?
Yeah, you can manifest instantly now, quicker than ever before, anything you really want or need. That's what I'm experiencing.
Do you think that would be like selfish, like a
no?
I know
anything that serves humanity, because you're an important part of humanity. So anything that is your gain, you don't have to feel bad about. There's plenty, since it's unlimited manifestation. You can have whatever you need without being selfish or taking away from another.
I can just get a better price for everyone who likes organic food. Okay. Without the stink bug.
Money, you can travel. Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought it's part of the program in the game of the matrices for, the effect of the price and demand of the product, which that's just part of the program. It's not good or evil, it's just the way it is. So if we can tap into awaken, then this is like some little things that we can do in practical everyday life to see how this actually works. I mean, I know it's not like a huge deal, but to see that in our everyday lives, and then we can move it, then move that energy around and then do even greater things, like what we do with our intentions when we join together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
totally.
Like an experience at the grocery store, with all these people, like what you experienced, Ronnie, unfortunate. I don't like it when people, I get my feelings hurt easy because I guess I am sensitive. So I can imagine how you felt like being yelled at like that. But now what I do, if I find myself in situations, except with a bug, but now I'll do it to bugs too, I just say no thank you. And if it's really bad, I'll be like, no thank you bullshit. And then they just look at you like, what? And you just say, no thank you bullshit. Like, that's where you can keep it. I don't want any. And it just stops them in their tracks. But I guess my test was to, okay, people can't bother you anymore. Now we're going to send in the creepy crawlers and see what you can learn. But even, and it's just that way because a lot of times people will pull you into their play or their game, but you don't have to play it. And when you say no thank you, it's not that I want to say, oh, they're not real, but it does almost put a glitch in the program. It's, because it's like, how do you react to that? Because it's not going along with it, right? How do you react to that? And they're like, what? You don't want any of what? And you just don't partake in it. And then you're very polite about it because, no thank you is a polite way of saying it.
I have to remember that, too. So,
yeah.
That's good.
I just wanted to add, because I looked up stink bug as a totem, animal totem.
Thank you.
The stink bug represents an exchange of energy. When threatened, it can put out a horrible smell to save itself from being a bird snack. It also takes in energy via plants. Often we tend to think of ourselves as putting out energy. We are so much more. We can exchange energy in the form of money to get people to help us. After all, most of us are paid to work, which is when you think is a simple exchange. It's just interesting. I feel that the
job interview today.
Sacrificed itself for you.
Oh, it's so. Listen, I had 2 job opportunities. I went for an interview today, but the one I really want, I'll know more about on Monday morning. And you just said it was like energy exchange. And also, what did it say about jobs? Like money exchange for work?
It said, after all, most of us are paid to work, which is when you think is a simple exchange. I don't know why it says it that way, but which is when you think is a simple exchange. But then it also says, a stink bug knows to protect itself quite effectively. The sighting of such a bug can signal to be on our guard, protect ourselves and interests. So it's
that's interesting. Oh, that bug, yeah.
The stink bug can camouflage itself. Great thing about blending into the surroundings, it allows you to watch unobserved, check out who you're hanging out and their behavior. It's how you think of yourself and how you want to be perceived. If not, it's time to make some changes, life changes. That's just something else that was talking about.
Well, and you know what? Thinking about the wordplay on stink bug, it has the word ink in it, and I was talking about scribing. Like, that's my new thing, is scribing. So, that's pretty deep.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, my God, I love the stink bug. Oh,
Here's something else that says, a stink bug totem helps analyzing dreams, visions, and half-understood messages. The bug shows how seemingly random events are connected. Call on the stink bug to improve your intuition. The insect also will show the order your actions need to be in for the most positive outcome. The stink bug is considered a good communicator.
Oh, my God. Oh, God, love its heart. It's adorable. Well, the energy went into the food, which did feed the birds and the possible fox that hangs around. So I didn't throw it in the garbage, threw it out for the critters to get. So live on, stink bug. Live on.
Stink bug gets to go and be something else now.
Yeah. Oh, I do think I'm going to change it to aromatherapy bug. I mean, why not? I mean, that's really good, though. It's interesting with the whole exchange of energy and with the word ink in it. And now that I am, I've always, not always, but for the most part, kept a journal. And Eileen, I've been doing the thing that you suggested a while back with I think you said write it down for 21 days or 28 days, like affirmations. And you sign your name to it.
I think we lost Eileen, actually. I was just looking here.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains why I shouldn't answer. But I've been I've been practicing that, and so I'm on today was my 28th day, and signing it like she said. So there we go. I mean, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So
it's actually really beautiful.
I planned on doing that and still haven't gotten around to it. I need something to do that. You know what I mean? Something much easier.
Eileen said 40 days. Eileen, that's hilarious because I have it written out for 40 days. I put numbers on my journal so I would know when to stop. And, so I wasn't, consciously counting. And I did write them out for 40 days. So, yes, we'll see. So I'm sorry, Shane, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying just getting something to get me to that point of being committed to something like that. Because I think she said you have to start over if you miss a day. I totally have to be starting over. I just get busy and forget. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But
yeah, I did it with my morning routine, and I just had it right there so I would remember. But her words of saying you had to start over, that was kind of haunting, but it inspired me. I use it for the good of like, I can't forget, because it's laying right there, when I'm doing my beautification process.
I would have to put it over by my coffee pot.
There you go. Well, Shane, you could put it on your computer screen, or like
a
put it
screensaver
on your keyboard. Put it on your keyboard.
Yeah.
No, I think you have to scribe with a pen and paper. I don't think you can do it.
No, I meant just to get my attention about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was interesting to write, because a lot of times I think we do everything online or through keyboard or, even emailing. And it was just really interesting to write that much, like a full page. Because I write here and there, but not like pages. And it really, I don't know, you just got to try it. It just felt so different, to write it down instead of typing it.
Yeah, we were just talking about that with Michelle Wolf about doodling on paper opposed to just messing around in a program, and it's just something about actually having the pencil or whatever in hand, or even a brush or whatever, opposed to the digital art, which is the same concept with typing with a keyboard or writing it out.
Yeah.
Have you ever done the tablet pen?
Yeah, actually I have a drawing thing like that, but it's still, I don't know. It's still pretty cool, but, it's still not the same. Just having that Control-Z undo button and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel pretty natural.
There's something to it. There's something to it, and the power that goes with that. And the whole thing for me is putting it into action, because it's like I can daydream and have this great imagination, and I can daydream and I can write goals out, but then it's putting it into action, and which I call imagine action now, because instead of imagination, because you need action, I guess, to spark it. So even, I think of like my mind and my heart becoming one, but you know how in the Bible it says, be a doer of the word, not a hearer only?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel like my life has been sometimes. Like, I know I can set all these intentions and pray and do all these intentions through prayer, but the putting it into action, a lot of times it's where I feel the resistance. Yeah. Like I want to weigh 140 pounds, and that's what I've been writing down in my journal.
You need to say, instead of I want, is I weigh.
No, I do. I put, here's what I put. Now that I weigh 140 healthy pounds, I have increased energy and feel great and do great things for others. So, I write it that way, but I don't want to work out. So right. it's like I keep waiting, and I'm like, okay. But then I thought, oh, well, that's because it's the program of weight loss. Like, think about the Matrix again and how that Matrix program works, because we're really, our physical body is our vessel. We want to be healthy. But you think about the program, and I know with my experience, I've been programmed to think, no pain, no gain when it comes to, having a healthy body. Like, you have to exercise to get that hourglass-shaped, healthy body that I want. So it's like being aware of that, too, knowing that, oh, okay, well, I have to, like, really remove that old programming for this to work. And I'm sure writing it out brought that up, too. Like, oh, I have this program that's saying you need to work out.
Some people are experiencing weird weight loss and weird weight gain, like overnight in this Mandela-affected world. So, and I experienced it too. It's like, what the hell? I got down to my perfect weight. All that grief and mourning really took it out of me. And then one day I looked, and it's like my belly. Oh my God, where did that come from? And it was like it happened overnight, and I swear it did. You know, it's weird. So I think that the program that we're experiencing is eating is a program. I was told this by the guy that's the oversoul. He said everything is a program. He's gone for 2 weeks without eating because he's been off grid. So he'd drink lots of water on Mount Shasta, but he wasn't eating a whole lot because, you know, it wasn't there. And what he was growing is what he was eating. But he said everything is a program. Being hungry is a program. So we just have to realize it's all a program. And
so then realizing that, okay, so we realize that. I agree with that. To me, ever since we did the intention last Saturday, I see all these programs now, like in detail, like what you're just saying, you know, the whole diet plan, the whole exercise plan. It's like, yeah, I don't want to get too crazy with it, but it's juicy, it's fun. I'm like, oh, it's just a program. I'm going to, like, get a big giant, instead of it's an easy button, it's a delete button, like, bink, and just delete all this. But how would you reprogram, you know, if you're awakened and you realize that food's just a program? So are you saying his physical body, now that he's aware of that, he doesn't need the food anymore to survive?
I think we are constantly time jumping. We time jump into a different reality, and in that reality, you know, it's what you're believing at that time. And it just, if you're having a bad hair day mentally, and suddenly you look in the mirror and you wonder, how did all that come on so fast? Because it did, because you manifested it. We're not only just manifesting good things, we're manifesting bad things. Our thoughts are creating our reality very quickly. It used to happen, you know, it would take a couple months for something to show up, maybe a whole year, and you think, wow, did I manifest that? If you look back at your thoughts at the time, you'd realize you did, but most people don't look back at their thoughts. And now it happens so very quickly, and maybe that's how we're changing into different timelines where buildings are different. Whole houses are appearing out of nowhere, you know. I just drove down an area, my mom and I, and a whole shopping center changed. It was all hooked together, and now it's separate buildings. And then I had to think about it, where I'm talking to my daughter in my dream, and she's saying, no, I don't remember it ever that way, Mom. And I said, how can you not remember it that way? But this was just in a dream. So I've been having conversations with my daughter in a dream saying, no, that's not how it is. And I said, we've lived there all this time. But my mom and I just drove down 52nd and Wadsworth. It's a big area. And we both looked over, and it's like, how did that happen? You know, it wasn't like that before. And now it's suddenly, instead of, you know, all connected building, you know, side by side, it's divided. Weird. We're experiencing time jumping. So in some reality, you are your perfect weight. You could jump into that reality, but then, you know.
That sounds like the kind of weight loss program that fits me well. Like, just set my intentions before I go to bed. Wake up with, like, I don't know, all fit, ready to go to the gym. I already got the membership. People know me there. Yeah.
Then again,
I love that.
It's possible good, because you don't want to lose. You know, because some people are waking up to, I don't recognize my husband. It's not the same person I went to bed with last night. You know, so you're careful to time jumping, because you could time jump into a reality where you don't recognize the people you're with, and they don't recognize you.
Wow. Yeah, that would be tricky.
What about Marilyn Monroe, you guys? Do you remember her being a different size than what she appears to have been at this point? She seemed different as a Mandela effect.
I really don't follow her, so in my reality and what I remember is that she's always been, you know, probably a 12 or a 14.
Voluptuous. Yeah, that sounds right to me too.
Yeah. Because some people think she used to be more voluptuous than she is now. Like she's more like a 9 or, you know.
Oh, she's skinnier now, you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you guys noticed?
No, I haven't. I don't follow her, so, or, you know, really pay attention to that, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're kind of out of time, but this was a fun discussion. We lost Eileen, but thank you to Ronnie and Vicky and April for joining in.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Sorry, Eileen. Whatever happened to her. All right. Lots of love to all of you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night with Eileen. And I guess that's it. Lots of love to you in the chat as well. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.